Pleased to have you here, and I'm going to just mention a few things about George, for those of you who don't know George. Who here has never heard of George Kavassilas? Oh, just a small number. Everyone else knows about George. Now, I first came across George probably last year when I looked at Project Camelot. Kerry Cassidy and Project Camelot, which I think some of you look at regularly. She does some wonderful interviews with a range of very interesting people. And when I saw the interview with George, I was very taken with his energy. And I liked what he said, and he was broad-minded enough and definite enough and not full of waffle. He knew he'd had some very interesting experiences that enabled him to see the bigger picture. Then one day I turned on Conscious Media Network and there was George again. So I listened to a very lovely interview with Regina on Conscious Media Network in which George also explained his understanding of the bigger picture, 2012 and where we're all headed. And he has, of course, had contact since he was probably 5 years old. And probably quite traumatic for a young child if he didn't understand what it was about. And gradually over his lifetime he's come to terms with it, and he's gained a great deal of wisdom through this contact. Some of it was not benevolent. The benevolent groups he considers his greater family. But the malevolent groups had a whole different agenda, and George might mention some of that today. In 2003, George had a quite extraordinary experience that transformed him, life-changing, in which he was taken on a ship to the Sirius star system, where he was enabled or allowed or assisted in moving up through various dimensions. And as he did this, he began to have a grasp of what it means to be human, who we are, where we come from, why we are here. And so he is actually able to give us a bit of an idea and answers to some of the questions we've all had for many years. Who are we? What's the point of being human? Why is there so much madness on this planet? Are we, and why are so many people skeptical and non-believers and don't really care about finding out anything more about what they're doing here? George is also going to talk about the ascension process and his understanding of it. And he has an international reputation now. He speaks at numerous conferences around the world, and he's highly sought after. He's also on Red Ice Radio, if any of you have watched some of those. They are extremely good interviews done by a Swedish gentleman. So, without further ado, would you please welcome George Kavassilas.
Thanks, everybody. Can you hear me now? Coming through? Yep. No, this will be all right. If people can hear me, that'll be great. So, I can just plug this in. Right. Well, first of all, I definitely want to thank the people that travelled to actually be here today. Unbelievable what I heard, some of the stories I heard. So, wherever it is you've come from, and it's taken a bit of effort to get here, and also then the people within Sydney, it's a heartfelt thanks and gratitude. That's just lovely. Every meeting that we actually, every seminar I do, it doesn't matter what part of the world it's in, for people to want to come from Melbourne, it seems like each one of us has our own unique expression. And therefore, because it's a light-based universe or a frequency-based universe or a sound-based universe, we each have our own unique song. So when we actually all gather like this, it's kind of like you take each person's song, you bring it together and it creates a symphony. So it's kind of like as you travel through a reality, through space-time, when people get together and someone has to come all the way from Melbourne and someone has to come all the way from Wollongong to be here, that means they're adding their unique songs to this gathering, and it makes it really quite incredible. Whether we become consciously aware of it or not, all our energetic cadence together create quite a harmonic resonance, and it really affects the planet, and it really affects Mother Earth, and it affects the consciousness of humanity. Might be a bit cheesy for some people, but it actually, when you look at it from a point of view of physics, that's what's actually taking place. Okay, it won't be long with this. We know that this lecture theatre wasn't quite available, so we couldn't come in earlier and set things up. And trying to share it with family and friends, well, you go to a doctor like I did and show him the marks that I was having, and you know, the automated response was, here's the name of the psychiatrist. That was the automated response. It happened every time, because they just don't know how to deal with it. One doctor did say to me that in the community I was living in of a few hundred, that doctor, it was a female doctor, that she was aware of 5 other people within that community that regularly go to her with the same issues. And they're the ones that she was aware of. So you can imagine how prevalent it is around the world. It does go into the tens of millions, if you really want to know the numbers. And even beyond that, I would say it goes into the hundreds of millions. And the reason I make that statement is because of who we are, what our genetics are, and the interest that a lot of these cosmic communities and galactic communities have in us and in our genetics. There's a whole menagerie of ET races that are interacting with this planet, have been interacting with this planet from the get-go, and there's never been a time when this planet has not been in communication with extraterrestrial life. Now, I make that statement because also you've got the concept of there's about to be a disclosure project, and humanity is just about to be revealed into this newfound knowledge of extraterrestrial life, that this is something that's happening for the first time. And that's just a big joke, really. It's a big joke. And if people can just look at it from the bigger picture, then all these little drama scenarios that get fed into the public arena become apparent for what they are. That they keep playing with us mentally, they play with us emotionally, and I can get into that if you want. And it's a constant game of it's mental and emotional abuse over a period of time into the human psyche. And it's about time, you know, people held them accountable.
Yes.
Do you want to hear that? My clear memories go back to about the age of 5.5. And I kept getting visitations by the Greys. And the weird thing is how they always came through the wardrobe. Do you guys hear that as a common theme, like in regressions, and there's always the wardrobe for kids involved. And why they choose that is because it's the common theme mentally in our subconscious of doors that open, things that come from a hidden place. And it affects us in the subconscious, you know, deep of children having these innate, you know, it's the mystery, it's the thing that's hidden, it's behind the doors, and they use all these little bits and pieces in our, to manipulate our psyche and our awareness. Now what they do is they change the reality as they go along. And the reality actually shimmers. And what they do is they come in and they come around the bed. And all of a sudden, all you see is the greys in the bed. You don't see the rest of the house anymore. This is the experiences that I had with these particular types of greys. Now, I can't say that's for every grey race because there's literally thousands of different types of greys out there. It's not one race of grey. The original root race was humanoid like us, And they chose the path of technology, and their planet unfortunately fell into disrepute as far as the natural environment goes and everything like that, and they all had to go underground. And they remained underground for hundreds of thousands of years. And their body parts atrophied. They lived in very confined spaces. They started reproducing through test tubes and, means like that. And so over a long period of time, through what we would call microevolution and then into macroevolution, because they tampered with their genetics so much, because they kept thinking along the way, this is the right thing to do, and each step of the way was justified. We need to do this now because of these sets of circumstances. And you'll find that we're doing the same thing. We rationalise our decision making, and in that point in time, a lot of people think, sorry, I don't realise here after all. Yeah. Thank you. So I don't know how familiar a lot of you are with the work. Can I just have a show of hands of people who are familiar with the message that I shared so far? Just so I get a good feel for what's... All right, thank you. Because just generally, I'll just summarise for the people who are not familiar. Generally, I'm doing the best to answer these primordial questions. And I reckon I'm having a pretty good go at it. Not that I'm the best in the world at it, but I reckon from my life's experiences and the knowledge that I've gained from those experiences, I've got a good understanding of who we are, where we come from, what we're doing here and where we're headed. And these are the primordial questions that people have murdered other people for throughout the ages. Civilizations have risen and fallen because there's been the few in control of those civilizations that have been seeking power from the answers to these questions. It's insanity. And the whole time through this, we had the answers and still got the answers right here. We've all got it. But they've all been seeking for it externally. They've been looking into ancient artifacts. They think if they have this artifact that's got some sort of special powers and it's going to make them powerful, then they can control many and do the right thing by humanity. All these sorts of ideas that people have. And there's been so much pain and suffering because of that. Because there's lost knowledge that we've had it all along. And the only thing that's stopping you from accessing it is a partition in your mind. So thin, yet it feels so far away. It's an ingenious program that's been imposed upon the human race. Okay, I'm going to go as far as saying it's not just that. There's also a physiological side to it. We have biological implants. All of us. One of them, I'm going to drop a bombshell now. One of them is called the pineal gland. That's freaking the New Age community right out. I'll explain more about that. Don't get too reactive. I'll explain more about that later because I have very good reason for saying what I just said. Because a lot of people jump to conclusions. George is here to deceive. He's a disinformation agent. I'm an agent of Satan. I'm the son of Satan. I am Satan. All that is doing the rounds. Okay, you get that. It comes with the territory. I know that. I really like that picture because it really explains a lot. This is where we're at right now. It is where we're at. And a lot of people are using the main calendar because it's pretty much one of the most accurate getting around. Now, what the main calendar says is what there's a bit of confusion about. Because it's all about cycles. Cycles within cycles. Wheels within wheels. That's what it's really saying. And we're closing a big cycle. We're closing little cycles, and we're closing big cycles, and we're closing the biggest cycle of them all. And we're closing them all at the same time. I'm going to race through this because it's usually my talks go for about 8 to 10 hours. So I'm not going to be able to share that body of knowledge with you in this short space of time, but there's a plethora of interviews and presentations available on my website if you wish to investigate this further. It really is about us coming here to this planet, and when I travelled the world, I made sure, and good old Aussie up there first, because everywhere you go, it's always the US, sometimes it's Africa, and we always get left out of the picture. So I made sure of that. And of course, oops, previous.
You can actually move the pointer up and down.
Okay, that worked. But anyway, I'm on to this picture now. The pregnant Mother Earth. There's a lot of pictures going around the internet and around the world today because many people are actually feeling it. They're feeling the consciousness of the Earth. They know she's a woman. I don't know, you might feel it's a man. I don't. This planet to me is a woman. And that she's facilitating this incredible experience that we're having. And really, when you think about it, you wouldn't exist here if she didn't manifest herself as this planet. That's the short of it. You wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her. It's as simple as that. She gives you the air that you breathe. I don't know what that little red dot is. She gives you the air that you breathe, the water that you drink, the food that you eat. A lot of people have religious connotations, say, oh, it's God that's done all that. Okay, sure, there's in this universe, you've got the universal creator and you've got the foundational energy behind everything, but everything that's manifested in there is co-creation. It's all co-creation. Every single planet out there, every single star out there is an individual personality, it's its own being. We're all individual beings. Every tree's got its own personality. Therefore, it's its own entity, its own beingness. Every rock. The mineral kingdom is full. It's a whole civilization. So I don't know the extent of how you think about life or how you understand life or comprehend life. And I might be pushing the boundaries for some people, but I can't make any apologies for that. Okay? I'm here to challenge mindsets. I'm not here to fluff things up and wrap everything up in cotton wool. I'm here just to tell it how it is. And if your mindset gets challenged today, then that's great. It's healthy because you get to contemplate things. You get to challenge your belief systems. Mine are getting challenged all the time. Just when I think I've got it, something else comes along and just changes everything. Pregnant Mother Earth again. And just some quick images just to show you about the feminine energy, the earth, her pregnancy, and where we're at, and why we call her our Earth Mother. There's some really nice images. Some people are really putting out some beautiful stuff there. That's the connection to the Pleiades, the Seven Sisters. In New Zealand, where I just was, they had what's called the Matariki Festival. And it goes for a whole week, because the Maori, is how it's pronounced, celebrate the fact that they come from the Pleiades. Aboriginal cultures have their celebrations too, because they celebrate the fact that their ancestors come from the Pleiades as well. And that their elders are in open communication with them. That's what we call secret women's business. Part of it. Now, you get this feminine energy expressing itself all over the planet in various different ways. Some people, a lot of people just walk past that and not even take a second notice, but somebody actually was able to notice the divine feminine expressing herself in all her glory through foliage, through a tree, through the tree kingdom. Amazing. The detail of that's amazing. We're all grown-ups here, right? Yeah. Look, you even got the nipple there. You got the chin. You got the two eyes there. It's just amazing. You got the sinew and the muscles. That one's just amazing. I would ask in the States, someone made that up, right? It's artificial, that picture. No, it's a real picture. I just couldn't believe it. We have billions upon billions upon billions of stars in our galaxy. And lately I've been really forthright about that. Even in general discussion, I've just found this way to break through the mental program, the program that's been imprisoning our human psyche, the brainwashing people into thinking that we're all alone. I mean, it's just insane. And that's what I say. I go, you're talking about ETs, all that weird stuff. I'm like, well, hang on a minute. Are you going to tell me that you think we're all alone? So who told you that stupid idea? When was the last time you looked up at the night sky and got a handle on how big the place is? I mean, it's just insane. It's totally deluded to think we're all alone. And the evidence is all over the planet. I just don't get that. I really don't. People are just so brainwashed, so small-minded. So I just treat it like that now. If you want to think we're all alone in the universe, you go right ahead, but that's insane. That's what I say to them, straight out. And you cut them off right there and then.
But it's on the telly. But where are
Yeah, yeah. But sending a probe to Mars at the forefront of human evolution. I'm not a joke. Our military's gone through wormholes to other systems, you know, and we're told that a probe going to the outer reaches of the solar system is the forefront of human evolution. Come on. So that's why I put these pictures up too. I mean, if you just do that with a child, I don't know what they don't do this in school, you know, just put that picture up and get children just to contemplate the vastness of space. Just look at that picture just for a little while, you know, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Doesn't take much, but I won't do that because that expands the child's awareness. Because what we call our education system is really a programming system of program and control. It's not education. Education would be doing something like this. It's all about conformity, you see. So the big experience that I had that changed everything for me, because I went through all the abduction scenarios, and I went through a lot of pain with that. And people can feel I've got an implant in my arm here, you're welcome to feel it later. You put your hand over it, and you've got a gadget, put it over it. I always welcome that. We put a device over it once, and we got this big flash of like an ethereal light that came off it. And that was different. Other people put their hands on it, they don't get quite good vibes from it. So it's up to you. I've had it for quite a number of years. And just see what you get out of it, I don't mind. But, you know, we've got implants. People got implants that don't even know they've got implants. There's been a really good interview lately with a lady who was one of the actresses on Baywatch. Yeah? Kim? Kim Carlsberg. I can't recommend that highly enough. I mean, if you come here to this group and you are interested in the subject, if you want to hear the extent and the magnitude of it, because people like me have been saying this, but Kim has got more recall than I have in my experiences with ETs.
Veritas Radio.
Veritas. I recommend Veritas very highly. Very professional, and Mel is just a great guy, so I can't recommend him highly enough. Really. Great interviews on that website. And she's got 72, full recall of 72 abductions. Full open recall. It's magnificent. But it's also shocking because you're going to hear the extent of what's taking place. So I won't go into the gruesome detail too much. Just certain things that are happening with the human race. And not everybody, but the majority, I reckon. When I go quiet with this, I'm just feeling. I'm feeling all of you, and I'm feeling what needs to be shared. So just give me a moment. When I was going through the dark night of the soul in 2003, I was picked up by my galactic family. And when I say galactic family, I mean the moment they turned up, no one said anything, I knew exactly who they were. Instantly, just like your brother walks in the room. Just like, you know, Mariana, she'll walk in the room, she doesn't have to come to you and say, oh, I'm your long lost brother, I'm from the stars, because that's what all the New Age crap's all about. That's what, they're the deceptive ETs you've got to be careful about. But when someone that you know walks in the room, instantly you know, don't you? So none of that, all that kerfuffle needs to happen. Because the other ones, they're going to sell themselves to you. They're going to win your trust, you see. You've got to be careful of that stuff. Now, when my galactic family turned up, they took me in a little shuttle to a much larger craft, and we went out towards, probably I'd say about most of the way towards the Sirius system, which is only about 8 light years away. It's not very far in the scheme of things, in the greater scheme of things. And I went to a much larger craft, and we had a whole different group of races in the craft. There was about 5 different races in that craft, and on the level that I could see. And they facilitated an experience for me to travel out of my body and go travelling with my consciousness through the universe. There was no technology involved. I just lay down on a really comfortable chair, like a layback chair, like a dentist chair or a therapist chair, for want of a better term. And they just allowed me to come out of my body. And I was not there in the capacity of just George, the earthly ego, the personality. There was a much greater presence of me that had now come to the fore. It's probably a good way of putting it, because I was out of the matrix, the earthly matrix. So when you get taken out of the earthly matrix, you start to change, because you're not suppressed by all the energetic patterns here. And my whole consciousness and essence that keeps this body going, that animates this body, came out. And what they did is we had a communal or it's like a combined soul contract. There was a contract on the soul level that we would use our unified love field that I have with those members of my family. That our love together would then allow that body to maintain some form of integrity, because it would be like the death process here on Earth. So much of me came out that the body would just cease to function. Okay? So our unified love field kept that body going while I was absent. Because this wasn't just astral travel, and it wasn't just traveling the ethers. It was all of my universal consciousness, essence for this universe. And I travelled up through the dimensions of the universe. And I did see massive galaxies just go into pinpoint, and then groups of galaxies, because it was like I was going out of the galactic and cosmic arena. I was leaving it. And I went through that void, and I went into this incredible state of, it's not bliss, and it's not euphoria. It's a deep sense of just steady state of grace. Probably the only words that can come close to explaining it. And then I was able to travel through these different layers and levels of the universe, and I got to peer outside our universe. And that's what I saw. That's an animated version of what I saw. I've got a friend to make that picture up for me. And basically that light just means there's so many other universes that it just ends up being a fuzz. So that's what that light in the centre is about. It's just so many, it's just a fuzz. But each one of those dots is a universe. And all those universes are us. One of those dots is you. That's what I re-remembered. That's what you re-remember in the moment, especially when you get through that void. You reconnect with a higher self, and then you end up reconnecting with your eternal essence and infinite essence, and that's a really big subject. No to the infinite, that's really big. And we'll get into that later, because that's the key for cracking the cosmic code, the cosmic matrix. And to know that we are these universes, and you've sent a spark of you in here, in this universe. So if Mariana is this dot here, she's expressing herself as a universe, just as she's expressing herself here on this level. And that expression has its own unique construct. This universe is light. All these other universes are something else. They're all different. They're all unique. So when we talk about frequency, when we talk about vibration, we talk about light, which means we're talking about the word, which means we're talking logos. We're talking about the essence and the construct and the vibrational patterns of this universe, the construct of this universe. Now, Mariana's got her universe, And we will send a spark of an aspect of ourselves in there. And she's the creator of that universe. And we're all in there having experiences because we want to learn that construct. And this is, if you want to give this a label, it's the multiverse. So I've gone straight to the big stuff here. This is the multiverse. See, it's a label that I came up with that just works, okay? You can call it whatever you like, it's up to you. And so when we want to explore a particular construct, we send a part of ourselves inside those universes. So you're all inside this universe learning the construct of this universe because you want it to be. And you've come down through many, many levels. And what we did was, we went down through all these different levels of the universe. And that's what I was talking about, light. That's the construct of this universe. And yes, I said we're universal beings. Very important to remember that you're universal being. And this is a point I want to make. It is essential to know that you exist beyond your earthly incarnation, but it is absolutely imperative to know that nothing exists beyond your eternal and infinite self. Now, you're approaching what I'm saying with your mental construct, with your mental programming, with your current level of psyche and awareness, and you're trying to grasp these words. What does it mean to be infinite? Okay? Because right now you're intellectualizing that concept. But what does it mean to be infinite, not to think about what it would be like to be infinite? It's a difference. If you are infinite, that means there is nothing greater than you. Now we're programmed to think in linear terms and in finite terms. That's what you're programmed to think. You're always programmed to think there's a beginning and an end. And you're also programmed to think in a finite existence, which is part of the deception. But actually you're infinite. Because if you're infinite, what does that mean? It means there's no God entity that's your creator and your ruler. Big one. That's a really big one. So when you grasp these other concepts, this becomes a bit of a challenge. Because you've got to walk between worlds, you see. You've got to, you know you're infinite, you know you're eternal, and here you are, scrubbing the toilet, going to work, paying the bills. Just going like, well, hang on a minute, what's going on here? So to try and reconcile all of that becomes quite a challenge. So this is the model of the universe I present. Like, I'm racing through this. I'm sorry, but I really need to because there's a lot to get through. And just give me a 5-minute warning if you can before the end. And this is the model that I present, that I experienced. There's two more. I haven't put it up. I need a new graphic. I now understand the two lower dimensions, which is the second and the first dimension, which is not what people think it is. And so a lot of the reptilians and the greys come from the second dimension. They're tricking you into thinking they come from in the lower fourth, which is what I thought as well for a while there. But they don't. Actually, now come on. Do you think those guys live in a vibration that's greater than ours? Those guys that haven't the capacity to love the way we do? Just think about that. How could it that they would live in a frequency that's better than ours, that's higher than ours? It's not possible, right? They're real tricksters. We've got to be careful of them. And of course, the reason I've got this is because there's been beings that have been existing in the universe for a very, very long time, and they've managed to master how to create through light. But what they've done is they've created their own version of light, not the organic universal version that we all work with and that we co-create with. They want to do it on their own. And they've created their own version of light, and I call it the false light or synthetic light constructs. And they're based on mathematical constructs. So you be careful of that. Because maths is a language that defines life from a particular point of view. But when you start creating it and you use mathematical templates to create life, that's when you cross the line. and now you're creating synthetic life constructs. So what they've done is they've created all these realities, especially in the fourth dimension. That's why I've got it so big, because you've got multiple levels of reality, and that doesn't come anywhere near the amount. That's just, symbolic of what's going on. And they've created all these realities within realities. Now, here's the link. It is mostly from these realities that the extraterrestrials that are in contact with Earth in this current time and have been in the recent era, that's where they come from. That's the connection. I'm giving the golden keys to understanding this whole ET thing. Because it's big. It's a big agenda. And if you are a lord and a master at the top of one of these colossal paradigms, they're big. And they've got their own spiritual hierarchies, their own angels, their own set of ascended masters. And they are ascended masters. I acknowledge they are ascended masters. But they are masters of that light construct. They're not masters of the organic light construct. And they truly believe, just like a religious person, and I don't mean just a general religious person, I mean a fanatic, a zealot, who truly believes what they're doing is the right thing. And you will have ascended masters that are coming to this earth, that are here now, that are interacting with people, and they are truly converting people into their ways. They are recruiting people to meditate, to use their light energies, to bring it into themselves, and they are slowly but surely converting people into their paradigms. They are assimilating people into their paradigms, their synthetic light constructs, which they don't believe is synthetic, by the way. You get what I'm saying now? Oh, the picture will start to emerge. If you want to know the big picture, this is it. This is what's happening. The sun. Don't forget the sun. You incarnate in the solar system. And there's a lot of bad press going around the sun because of the sun's identity has been hijacked. You wouldn't exist here if it wasn't for the sun. The sun's not a bad guy. Now there's this age-old war going on between the sun and Saturn. Saturn's the one who's full of himself. Saturn's the one you've got to look out for. That's the archetype of Saturn. It's the self-righteous one. It's got the Jehovian energy attached to it. And you'll notice that right now on the internet there's this big surge of Saturnian knowledge coming out. I don't know if you people do that sort of thing. You listen to interviews, you listen to what's going on out there, what people have to say, but there is quite a flood of Saturnian knowledge now starting to hit the internet, starting to be put into people's psyche because Saturn wants to be a big god. He always has. He's always been jealous of the sun. And actually, it was his agenda to steal the identity of the sun, create these religious, dogmatic religions out of it. And so at the end times, the sun will look bad. So I say to people, there's kind of a little holy trinity going on here on this level. And that's the connection you have with the sun and with the earth. See, for you to incarnate here, on a high level, you would have had to have made an agreement with the consciousness and the being that is this earth. And you would have had to have made an agreement with the consciousness and the being that is the sun. They are living beings. I don't know whether you can understand it or not, but that's the way it is. And when you go into your heart, and you start accessing the greater knowledge of self from deep within, you reconnect with your earth mother, you reconnect with your father, son, and you remember that relationship. And for me, it's been very deep, very profound, the experiences that I've had, rekindling that, reawakening to that, remembering, and once again functioning from it. Because it is through that process that you found yourself being regrounded and recentered in this reality. And then all of a sudden, bit by bit, you start detaching from all the falseness, all the lies, all the illusion, all those programs. They just start coming off one by one by one. And it's a beautiful feeling. It's a good place to be because you become free, you become sovereign, you see. We are at such a critical time now. And this is what I meant before with the cycles within cycles. This is what 2012 is all about, is that point right there. Right there. It's actually, that point right there is actually the 21st of March 2013 in Perth. What I can make up. It's George's take on it. Okay? Because it is the precession of the equinoxes, not the precession of the solstices. If it was the precession of the solstices, the cycle would end on a solstice, right? It is the precession of the equinoxes for a reason, because this is all about attaining balance. You can't end the cycle on a solstice because everything is out of balance. It's the extreme of one way to the other. So it's got to end. For us to achieve balance or centered state and ascend, then we need perfect balance. The environment has to reflect that. And that's why it ends on an equinox and not a solstice. And there's been crop circles that have been trying to say exactly the same thing. They're trying to remind us of all the different dimensional levels and the ending of each of those cycles, our journey through the universe, because that's what the main calendar is talking about. Now, before I showed you the model of the universe, that was our journey through the universe. And that's what this is saying. We journey through the universe, down, 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 into smaller cycles, and they all coalesce now. And that's what the main calendar is talking about. We're finishing it all now. And this is another way of looking at it. You've got the dualistic expressions of the cycles, and this is working towards centre, perfect balance. And this is birthing the new way of life. And that's turning inside out. For those who are into the physics side of it, that's the toroidal process. So if you take that self-sustaining process of a toroid that people use in science and physics, that is exactly like what we're doing and what we're becoming. You're turning inside out. You know, when people say shine your light, it means do that. If I say to you, shine your light, just be who you truly are, your authentic self, that means turn inside out. Which means stop letting the externals influence you to be who you are. Allow your inner light to come out, your authentic self, and be who you are. And that's what that's saying. Same thing. Now, I put this up there because we've got our two states of duality. And what we have at the moment is because the pendulum has been spun so far over here, we now have a big surge of this energy coming into this reality to help bring the pendulum back into the middle, because things are out of balance into the negative charge. Now, my warning to people is this energy here you've got to be careful of, because it's just one side of duality. So it's limited. Now, a lot of people are flocking to that. And I assure you, through the Galactic Federation of Light and all the New Age movement, that this is the realm that a lot of people are heading towards, because that's what those are based on. It's just this energy here. Very limited. And the unfortunate thing with this is it's not a balanced state when people are just on one side of duality. Sorry, it said, I'm not perfect, but I'm perfectly glad I am. Now we get into the deep stuff. Okay. Have a read of that. Yes, there is a negative charge in this universe. And yes, the negative charge, which is the foundation of negative experiences, is an aspect of the universal creator. But the God I'm talking about there, the God of religions, is not the universal creator. Now this is just big stuff now, okay? And if you are religious and you believe in God, per se, then I'm not here to insult you, I'm here to give you another perspective. This is an excerpt from my book, and I'll just read it out to you. The God of religion has become so self-deluded to the point where he is now claiming to be not only the creator of this universe, but also the multiverse and all life beyond. He is claiming to be the one and only creator and ruler of all things on all levels, of all that is and all that exists. This is pure egoic insanity. As I mentioned earlier, there is no one created being of all that is and all that exists, as we are all infinite and eternal. People are being constantly programmed into thinking in finite terms. If you understand what it truly means to be infinite, then you will understand that in the greater scheme of things, there is no one everything, as there is no such thing as totality. You can't have infinite and you can't have totality. They can't coexist. If you're infinite, you're infinite. There's no end to you. One needs to go beyond the mind and into the heart to grasp this concept. When you go into your higher essence, you go into your heart and you start reconnecting with your spirit, your essence, this becomes apparent. If you're going into the New Age programs, into the religious programs, you're going into the God programs with a small g. Some people say there is the infinite one, or the one infinite creator, but that too is a contradiction in terms. How can you have one, which is wholeness, and then the infinite creator? You can't. You can't have infinite and one together. It's a contradiction in terms. Some people say, that is simply a perspective from people who are still within the more sophisticated programs of this God. People also use the term oneness. There is even a oneness movement growing rapidly on our planet today. There is a big difference between oneness and living in harmony. The oneness concepts being disseminated around our planet, infiltrating our human psyche, comes from a collective hive mind. This is just another program. These programs keep people thinking that we all come from this one entity, that we have been born or spawned out of this God being, that we did not exist prior to that moment. It is a perspective that views our greater essence as though it is like a cell in our body, and that all our great essences together, our greater essences together, make up one single body or being. This simply cannot be if one is infinite. Again, contemplate what it means to be infinite. If you want to accept that you are infinite, you don't have to. You know, all these things I'm sharing with you, you don't have to accept any of it. You're in your own life's journey, you go where you want to go, where you need to go. That's fine with me. You want to go on the ship of the Galactic Federation, do it. That's your soul journey. It's no good for me. I've explored that paradigm in my journeys. I know what it's about, and I'm done with it. I'm not going there anymore. And there's this other thing about this God entity that's claiming to be the creator and ruler of all things everywhere. If you want to continue to believe that and to be subservient to that entity, you're welcome to it. But I'm over it. I'm breaking free from his cosmic matrix. It's a finite existence. He's clever. He knows what he's doing. He's been around for a long time. It's not silly. The moment you start entertaining the idea that you're infinite, that's when you can break free from his clutches. I know, sensitive subject. Feel the energy in the room change? It always does when you get these sensitive ones. Should have seen it in Spain when I was talking about the Inquisition. Wow. I had a translator and she started coughing and couldn't talk. You can actually see it on YouTube if you like. You can see how she couldn't talk. She was coughing. And she had a talk to do her own presentation 3 days later. No voice. She couldn't talk. She had to whisper gently in someone's ear, and they had to do the talking for her. And what she said to me, she said on the astral level, she saw this entity come and just stab her in the throat on the astral level. So these are the sort of things that can happen. Okay. I did mention the pineal gland before, didn't I? I didn't do the graphic, but what if the pineal gland is a biological implant? See, I haven't heard anybody out there question pineal gland. I haven't heard anybody out there, see, I'm a skeptic. I'm a true skeptic. I question. I'll challenge everything I question. No one out there is questioning the chakra body. Don't you find that interesting? The rainbow body, the pretty one, the one that's all up in lights and glamour and glitz. Look, if you think the New Age movement is any different from religion, why have they got that at the Vatican? What do you think that in this huge monument in the Vatican is trying to say? What do you think it symbolises? The pineal gland. It symbolises the pineal gland in the head. It's understanding their symbolism and what it actually means. Did you notice that the Catholic priests always do this? They do that cross with their thumb. Put their thumb in ash and they'll put a cross there like that. Cardinals. Do you notice when the New Age churches, evangelistic churches, when people are singing and all that energy and they're picking up the energy and everyone's praying and projecting to their God entity, which is just going, thank you very much in that moment, and they go to do the faith healing, where do they touch the people? Always. Right there. Right there. Why? Pineal gland. And pituitary. But mostly the pineal gland. So, when you look at the caduceus, the symbol of our medical profession, this is why we have UFOs and ETs. This is why we have abductions. This is what it's all about. Because you might think the lowly greys, certain lowly greys, it's very, very beautiful and advanced, sophisticated greys, which are very loving beings. But you might think that certain groups of greys are just the devil's work and they just live by themselves and don't belong to anything bigger than that. You're mistaken, because even these lower reptilian groups and these grey groups actually belong to a much larger empire. This is all about structure. This is all about infrastructure. This is all about protocol. And it's all about law, L-A-W. And what I'm all about is law, L-I-R-E. You move from L-A-W to L-I-R-E, you are free. L-A-W, God of religions. God with a small g. God of the New Age movement. Same being. And the New Age movement is just a more sophisticated version of religion. That's all it is. They've even got the same characters. But because it's a little bit different, people go to it, they flock to it. It's amazing. Now I put that there because let me look at it like this. Let me explain it like this. Have you ever wondered if the chakra body is not simply the way it is, but is an option? That maybe the chakra body is a program that has been overlaid over our natural condition. So what about that one? A, B, C, D, E, F and G rings. A, B, C, D, E, F and G chakras. Each one of your chakras is connected to a ring of Saturn. They're leveraging what's going on here with the Saturnian energy. The rings have only, one of the rings only recently got completed at the turn of not this last century, but one before. Or shall I say, recalibrated. This cosmic agenda is big. And the beings that are utilising the energies of the solar system know exactly what they're doing. The archetypal consciousness and personality of Saturn is exactly what they wanted to utilise. And so they put the rings around Saturn. The rings actually are harmonic rings. If anyone knows anything about music or frequency work, anything like that, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And it's through those harmonic rings that they leverage control of the solar system. Because that's the only way Saturn can do it. So on high levels of consciousness, we're talking cosmic levels of consciousness. If you know that each planet is a living being, and you know how we have dramas that take place here on this level, well now think of the dramas that take place on planetary levels. Think of them as people, think of them as personalities, think of them as characters. And who would they employ? Who would they get to be their minions to do the work for them? The moon. Many people look at the moon. How much longer?
3 hours.
I always like question time. Well, I've found a lot of speakers, they speak and they walk off and that's it. But I've always been big on question time. All day seminars always leave the last section 2 to 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours worth of questions. And I think it's really important to interact because it allows you to steer the conversation rather than, it's not just me getting up here and just dictating down to you because I don't like that. So there's a lot of people that look at the moon. And again, this is part of the ET agenda. So I don't know how much you guys talk about the moon. But there's a lot going on with the moon. So for anyone who's contemplated the moon or spent time looking at it, have you ever asked yourself that? What are the chances? What are the chances of a body that's so big, that's supposedly solid, can be so close to the Earth? Because if it had mass, the mass that they tell us it's supposed to have, then there's no possible way it could be that close to the Earth. It's not possible. It's too much mass. It's too dense. Gravitational field's not strong enough. So when you look at the size and then you look at the mass and you work out the equations, you come to realise that something's not right there. And then you look at that. And you get millions of people looking at that regularly, all around the world. And you think anyone's ever stopped and gone, gee, what are the chances of that happening? Because of how we're told that the moon got caught in the gravitational field and it's just by mere accident. It just happened to be drifting along and got caught in a gravitational field and ended up in that orbit the way it has. So not only does it only ever show one face, it spins on its axis. The moon spins on its axis. But it's engineered to spin on its axis so perfectly, that's my choice of words, that you only ever see one face. And not so even after 100 years, you'll see a little bit more of it. Not even that. Perfect. One side only. Just by mere chance, they reckon. And then when we look at this phenomenon called the solar eclipse, that is so perfect with a circumference that if the moon was just a few more kilometres closer to the Earth, you wouldn't be seeing that. You'd be blocked out. Or a few kilometres further out, you'd see the band of the sun. But no. Perfect. You don't think someone's trying to utilise cosmic energy, do you? No, of course not. Is there any talk of there a time being before the moon here on the planet in the Bible? Psalm chapter 27, verse 72, verse 5, modern English. Thou shalt fear thee as long as the sun and the moon endure throughout all generations. Fear, of course, you've got to fear God, apparently. Original Hebrew, Aramaic in other words. Thou wast feared since the time of the sun and before the time of the moon, a generation of generations. Lost in translation, maybe? Somewhere along the line? Slide of the pen? I was in Sweden, and there was a pub less than 50 metres down the road from where we were staying on hotel. Notice that word there? What do you reckon? They know something, you think? You see, we have a matrix here, and all our minds are connected to it. Whether you want to agree with us or not, whether you want to accept it or not, it's just how it is. There's beings that live in the moon. They've been there for a very long time. The moon's an artificial satellite. It's actually an ancient Pleiadian ship. And it was actually used to seed life here. You don't have to believe any of this. You don't have to accept any of it. And what they've done is they purposely put the moon around the Earth in the way that they have. First of all, because they want to control the feminine energies, the feminine consciousness of this Earth. And that's why the reproductive cycles, the menstrual cycles are connected to the moon. Because prior to the moon coming here, the menstrual cycles were connected to the 28-day rotation of the sun. And it was a euphoric experience. It's about the creation of life. So, creation of life. Euphoria. The moon comes here, they strategically put it around the Earth the way they have, because they want to do this to the feminine. We're dealing with beings that have been around for a very long time. They're not stupid. They know what they need to do. You go to a planetary population, put yourself now in the shoes. Let's play conqueror. Let's play head of an empire. Let's play self-deluded God entity. I want to go and I want to be their masters. I want to rule over this domain, over that planetary population. How would you go about it? The immature way to go about it, it's the irresponsible way to go about it, is to put forces on the ground. Because eventually we get a revolution. It doesn't work. You want to do it properly? This is what you do. You find out everything about that reality. And you reach down deep into that reality as far as you can. And you dig deep, and you dig deep, and you dig deep, till you get to the very, very bottom of that reality. The most core foundational energetic pattern you can discover about that reality, which sustains all life in that reality. That's what you do. When they came here and did that here, they knew it was the divine feminine. They knew they had to suppress the feminine. So when they got their hands on that after a war ensued in the solar system, and the Pleiadians came here to defend the Earth, which was a very painful time. And because that device seeded quite a lot of life here, the energetic connection it had with this Earth was enormous. So they now had the number one tool, the mechanical device to do it. So they strategically placed that in orbit. This isn't a fantasy, this isn't a fairy tale. This is fact. It's reality. And they created what's called a matrix. And it's a net that stretches from the moon and goes around the Earth. Our brains are biological transceivers, and we are plugged into it like your computer's plugged into the internet. It's like an internet you cannot see. And if you really want to be honest about this, you monitor your thoughts and tell me how many of those thoughts are yours. Because it takes a lot of courage to do that. To know that your mind is being influenced externally. It does. It takes a lot of courage. To sit there, you just sit there for a period of time, switch everything off, and you monitor your own thoughts. Try to do that. Try to realise what you're thinking of. Just let your mind be and see what happens. And you realise you're having thoughts. You might think about an argument when you had someone, and then you get that emotional rush, and then that finishes. And 10 minutes later, it happens again. Why? You didn't will that thought to happen. It just started happening. Why? I'll tell you why. Because they impose that mental thought pattern back into your mind. So you can have that emotional rush, so entities can feed off you energetically. That's reality. You see, this cosmic deception is multi-dimensional. It is not only in the third dimensional level. This cosmic empire functions on a multi-dimensional format. And this cabal goes very deep into the cosmos. So don't be naive. I said, I'm here to challenge your mindsets. I can feel a lot of you are stirring deep inside because it hurts. When your mindset gets challenged, you get uncomfortable. You get emotional reactions, you get mental thoughts, you'll have all these crazy thoughts about me. You'll want to justify your belief systems. You're going to say, this guy's saying this because he's trying to deceive me. And you'll go through that process, like so many have. And then a year later, I get the emails. Man, I thought you were full of it, I thought you were deceiving us. But I've woken up, I see it now, thank you very much. That's what I get. Lots of emails saying that. Think of me as Shrek. I'm not the pretty boy that's going to come along and tell you what you want to hear. Think of me as the ogre that's coming along here and just telling me how it is and hope that we can deal with it. A lot of people don't like me, especially in the New Age circles. Oh my goodness, you should hear the things that get thrown around the internet about me. There's campaigns, anti-George Kavassilas campaigns. And that's okay.
Is it really?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I get some pretty nasty emails too. I do get death threats and things like that. But that comes with the territory. It just shows where these people are at. It shows how frightened and insecure they are. It exposes them for their frailty, for their insecurity, for their mindset that's been challenged. Because I say to people, you don't have to go where I'm going. You don't have to accept what I'm sharing. You live your life. You be who you need to be. You want to go into a religious society? Follow that. You want to be saved by your deity? Go there. You want to hop on board the ships of the Galactic Federation of Light? Take that journey. I incarnated on this planet. I'm having a deep and intimate relationship with the consciousness of this planet and this solar system. That's why I came here. That's what I'm doing here. I'm rebalancing my universal journey, bringing it back to 0 point. Because I've been everything and I've done everything that this universe has to offer. And I'm at the end of that journey. And if you don't feel that that is the same thing for you, then go and have more of your journey. It's okay. Just be you. This isn't about followers, this isn't about creating your religion, this is about providing you with information, so at least now you are better informed and you can make a better choice for yourself. Or, to put it in reality, real terms, we can allow your ego to still believe in the illusion that it has choices. Because really, there is no thing as free will down here. But if you want to continue to believe that, that's up to you. Our egos need that sometimes because of their insecurity and their frailty. But you see, I'm not the creator of this life. I'm not. George did not decide to incarnate. See, George, this part of me, this is my earthly personality. This is the part of me that's living this life. I'm living the experience of this life. But the part of me that created this is beyond this reality. It's beyond this veil. Okay? It's my essence. That part of me, actually, I'm going like that, but it's here. It's in here. That part of me, try not to tap the mic. That part of me in here is what created this life. So the ego of George does not control his life. It took me a while to come to terms with that. Especially being a male, Leo, all that sort of business, you know. I'm not in control of this life. And when you can release and surrender control of this life to the greater you, that's when flow begins. And it just pours forth like a fountain. And you get that eternal flow. And you start connecting with all this eternal knowledge and knowings and understandings, and the whole experiential reality changes. Because then you're authentic. You're being you. From within. That's the real you. Simple, really, isn't it?
So who's the co-creator?
You are the co-creator.
As in my higher self, or me as this
Yes,
person?
both.
But
We're somewhat co-creating out here, but really we're just living the experience of it.
yeah.
Yeah. And see, from that high level, I ask that you would come along in this moment and ask me this right now, before we even incarnated. That one's a hard thing to take too. Just think of it like a DVD. The whole thing is in that DVD, the life cycle. From beginning to end, it's done, it's set. Egos don't like this concept at all. They want to be in control, right? See that little scratch I'm doing? From the day I was born, I was always going to be standing up here doing that. How about that? You know, this. From the day I was born, I was always going to be doing that. I know it does the head in, but that's what it's meant to do. Because this is beyond the mind. These are beyond the mind concepts. These are into the heart and into the essence. See, the mind struggles with these concepts. You've got to get past the mind, into your heart, into the essence of who and what you are. Then this whole thing just flows right over and it just opens up. Anyway, we'll pray to you. Don't be too alarmed by it. This is not about inciting fear in people. It's not. I'm not about giving you all this information so then you feel overwhelmed and you go into fear and oh God, and you know, understanding the scale and the magnitude of the way our humanity has been interfered with, has been manipulated. It is truly grand, the scale of it. You just got to just sit back and just contemplate the simplistic side to it, which is this universe has been around for a really long time. There's beings that exist that are really clever. We're talking about eons and eras and epochs of evolution. Technologies that are so far advanced in relative to our public arena. And you just got to not be so naive about things. They prey on our naivety. They promote apathy. You know, part of me wants to say, I'm sorry that your mind hurts. I'm sorry that you're uncomfortable with things that I'm sharing. And then there's a part of me that just doesn't want to apologise at all. Because I'm kind of doing the tough love thing here with you. For me, the sword is a very powerful symbol. Very powerful. For me, I see myself as embodying the sword. There's a lot of people that feel that way about themselves. When Muhammad said, go and spread Islam by the sword, he did not mean go around killing people. That is just so pathetically childish. Think back. You've got to know what the sword represents. The sword represents knowledge. Sure, you're familiar with the symbol, right? King Arthur and the sword. What about this sword symbolism? And this one. Has anyone ever contemplated what that actually really means?
Standing for truth.
Why was he nailed to that?
Standing for truth.
Because when the son decided to have another incarnational experience on his twin flame on his wife's planetary body, when he died, it was the death of knowledge and wisdom, the last remnants of it. And his death heralded the Dark Ages. Yes, he walked this earth, and he was just a man. During his life, he accessed his greater consciousness and his greater awareness. He travelled all over the world. He actually was bilocated. In South America, they called him Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent. You know, religious people are going, serpent, devil, knew it. Again, childish and naive to think that. Am I being derogatory? No. I'm being realistic. What does the serpent mean? Knowledge. What does the feathers mean? Love. Serpent tribes, bird tribes. It's aspects of duality. Two foundational energetic patterns of anything that gets created in this universe. Love and knowledge. If you understand the reality behind these symbolism, and imagine how much we would forward in our progression as a race, rather than squabbling and fighting over semantics and imbecilic ideologies promoted by the priestly caste that want to keep us divided and want to keep us fighting and squabbling amongst ourselves. Because when that gentleman turned up 2,000 years ago, what they called him? Satan. That's what they called him. Why? Because what does that word mean? It means opposer. It means adversary. He was the adversary and an opposer to their God. See? It's different when you know the truth, isn't it? Same with Arthur. I'm just sharing these symbols with you. I can't go into it in the further detail, we just don't have the time. But again, if you understand the symbolism, you understand why people spend so much money to put such huge monuments up around the place. That one's a good one. It's got the chalice as well. So here you've got the sun and the knowledge, and here you've got the chalice, the feminine. It's very symbolic, that. So you've got the sun and you've got the earth. See, when you know what the sword represents, when you start connecting with knowledge, it's like we're walking through this forest of, you can't see the forest for the trees, as they say. And we're roaming around in this darkness and people are asleep, and you know, if you want to know the true meaning of raising people from the dead, do you want to know what that really means? Again, if you think it was someone who died and then they brought them back to life, well, I mean, just how many paramedics could be classed as performing miracles, don't they? To bring back people from the dead. That's not what it means. Resurrecting the dead means awakening people, because they're the walking dead. It's awakening people with knowledge and awareness. That's what it really means. And when you do, this is what you achieve. You achieve a stairway and a pathway out of the forest of darkness. You do end up going into the light, the true light. But be careful of the false light, because they want to simulate everything. The chakra body has been created by the God with a small g. He's created false light paradigms that are vast. He's got empires upon empires of extraterrestrial races that have been assimilated into his empires, into his paradigms. He can send grey races, reptilian races, to make this place incredibly undesirable, which is what he's done. He can use plan now. Manipulate us genetically, prepare us genetically, mind control us. He can create very undesirable religious programs here. People that get assimilated. Sorry.
That's from up there.
And so right at the end, when he plunges this reality in such a deep negative charge, he can come along with his forces of light, his angels and ascended masters, that can be your saviours, and lure you into his paradigms. So there you go, there you have it. If he hasn't, it's like a cookbook. Think of it as a massive cookbook. And there's a whole lot of recipes in that cookbook. And he's got a recipe for every mindset. So if he hasn't got you with the Catholic religion, he'll get you with the Greek Orthodox religion. And if he hasn't got you with that one, he's going to get you with the Anglican religion. And if he hasn't got you with that one, he's going to get you with Hinduism and all its different factions. If he hasn't got you with any of those, he's going to get you with Islam and all their factions. And if he hasn't got you with that, he's going to get you with the scientific religion, the religion of science. Because it's not true science. Any true scientist gets persecuted and ridiculed for any new discoveries. So that's totally a paradigm that's under total control. And if he hasn't got you with that, then you might be trying your little secret society groups, whether you're a Freemason, whether you're a Rosicrucian, whether you're a Skull and Bones, whether you're right at the top, be part of the Brotherhood of the Snake. Doesn't matter which secret society group, they've all been infiltrated. Whether you're an indigenous person and you're doing your shamanistic practices, you go and talk to the true elders and they're going to tell you, we don't do that sort of work anymore, not that way. The real elders are sitting right back of these indigenous tribes, because a lot of the shamanistic practices of today, they're talking with spirits that come from the domains of that other entity. So you've got to understand this approach onto our human race here is multi-dimensional. It is multifaceted. They have come to us through our genetics, through what we call our health system, through our foods, through manipulating all the ley lines on the planet. You embody the universe. So for us to become a creator of light, a universal creator of light, we then needed to be tested by the best this universe has to offer. And that's what's going on. So let's get out of victimhood now, rise above it all, and understand that we wanted this. Remember, George is not in control of this life. So all my pain, because I've suffered greatly in this life, I've been tortured by something. Everything you need to know about life is within you. You have it all. You're a fractal of the universe. The universe was created. We explored all the dimensions. Then the call went out. The divine feminine said, I'm going to manifest myself as a galaxy. So then the galactic womb was created, which is a fractal of the whole universe. The whole universe is manifesting the galaxy. Then the masculine said, I'm going to create myself as a solar system, because the feminine is then going to manifest herself as a planet. So you take the universe, you compress it into a galaxy, you compress it into a solar system, and you compress it down to a planetary system. And then you compress it one stage again into a single embodiment. And that's why you are human. You are godly beings, godly mind. picture, for want of a better term. I'll do a better term. Universal creator. You're a universal being of universal consciousness. And that's what you are. And that's why ETs are so fascinated in us. Because we've got babies being born here that are more powerful than that G was, the God with a small g. We access more life force here than that guy ever will. And all those ascended masters and all those so-called angels, they can't access the amount of energy we can. And they're jealous of us. And they're doing everything in their power to do this to us and assimilate us into their paradigm. Because when they feed off our energy, they've never had a feed like us. We're the best. They get a feed more, they feed more, and they get more of an energy feed from us than they do from any other race or anything else. Because empowerment, through the evolution of the universe, it was discovered that substances can only do it so much for you. Technology then, the evolution of technology came and went, and that can only do so much for you. But the real juice is life force. So genetics is the #1 commodity in the cosmos. And whichever races can access more life force are the races that are held in the highest of regard. And we are top of the list. All right, question time. Yes,
Marguerite, I find it really interesting to hear you talk about how we're controlled by everybody else. It just is very disempowering. And then when I think, well, what practical thing can we do to empower ourselves to live this life in a successful way, whatever the definition of that might be? And then I hear we have no free choice and it's all like a DVD. So are you going to get around to what is the point?
Yeah, sure. When our minds and our egos first come across this information, it feels very disempowering, because your first reaction is trying to grasp the magnitude of it all, and it makes you feel really small. And that's a really good and important part of the process, because then you get to feel how big it really actually is. But then when you get out of victimhood, which is what I just did a little while ago, that's where the empowerment comes from. Because you designed this life that you're having, you chose to incarnate, we all made agreements with one another that we would role play for one another down here. So we are the creators of this reality. This is our reality. And now the time is coming to say, thanks guys, you served us really well, but now it's time to go.
How do we do that?
By doing what I just did. Thanks guys, you served us really well, and now it's time to go. So you can sit at home in your meditation, and you just sit, you could have a cup of tea, just say it in yourself. You can do it once a day, you can do it 100 times a day, it's up to you how you do it. It's up to you what you feel into when you say it. You can feel into the forces of negativity, the forces of limitation. You can also feel into the forces of positivity, which are also a part of the forces of limitation. Right?
Which always makes us feel like there's no way you can go.
But you created it all, so you're above all of that. You're still seeing yourself as down and below. You've got to rise above it. I said, get out of victimhood and rise above the whole drama of it all. This whole play, this whole experience of it all. We all co-created this together. And everything you experienced, all the pain, all the arguments you had with people, all the people that have hurt you in this life, you asked them to do that. And they've served you wonderfully. Now this is really understanding duality. This is getting out of victimhood now and being grateful for all the pain and all the misery and all the suffering. Because you would not be who you are today without it. You would not have learned the wisdom from it. You wouldn't have walked in those shoes, because no one really knows until they walk in those shoes. Anybody can intellectualise about a concept and an idea all they like, but until they live that experience, they'll never really know.
Another question just here. George?
Yeah, just one moment.
Sorry.
Yeah. I'm just feeling into the energy of how you're feeling right now. You're
Going
still,
back to a human level, and you just spent all this time talking about this God with small g, and how we're manipulated by the moon, and all this other stuff
yes.
that makes us feel, and then we can't even tell true light from synthetic light.
Yes, you can.
So how?
By feeling deep into your heart. That's the point of reference.
Yeah.
What you know deep, deep, deep down inside of you, the love that you have deep down inside, you know what love is. No one actually has to tell you what it is. So when an ascended master, I had Lord Sananda turn up in my bedroom, and he was just showering me with all this love and light, and I said, go away, you're nothing but an imposter. You have no power over me, now leave. And he left. Anybody else in the New Age movement would have fallen to their knees, tears coming out, oh, it's the Christ. Please. You know, that's the difference. I know what love feels like. I don't need him to come along and shower me with all this love and light and impose his version of love and light onto me. Because the real Christ would never behave like that to start with. That is not the behaviour of Christ. Okay. So, feel deep into your own essence and feel the love that's very, very deep inside of you, your core. And that love is graceful. It's the only word that comes close, actually, describing it is the word grace. It's really no other word. And when you have that as a point of reference, then if what you're experiencing, you go to a meditation group and people are blissing out on all the love and the light there, I had to get out of there because that version of love and light was not what I feel deep inside of me. And they were all blissing out. And I used to think there was something wrong with me, you know. And then after a while, I worked it out. And then I stopped going. Because when people are in these meditation groups and they're bringing the light in and they're bringing the white light in through the crown chakra and all that sort of business, that's the false light. Because we already have the organic, universal, true light within us. We are that. We don't need to bring it in from anywhere. We just need to be who we truly are. Just shine, just be you, express your authentic, genuine self. That's all you need to do. Just be. It's so simple. Just be.
On the one hand, it sounds very simple, but then as soon as we are expressing ourselves and have an emotion, we're automatically feeding some entity. So is this like, should we worry about this? Or is this like the bacteria that grows on our skin that we ignore?
You can approach it that way, or you can deal with it internally. Like if you keep reliving a scenario with an argument with somebody, then you can either try and ignore it, or you can actually just say, I know what you're doing. I've had enough of you. This is not my thought. I don't want this thought. Go away. And expose it. Say, you're so weak. You're so cowardly. You've got to hide in the shadows. You've got to, from a distance, you've got to impose these thoughts into me. You're such a bloody coward. That's what I do. And confront them. And they're so cowardly. You know, they come out with these big, tough reptilian dudes. You know, I've been thrown around my bedroom by a draconian. You know, so that's happened to me. You know, and I do respect the draconian warrior aspect to their cultures. There's some good Dracos, and there's some, most of them aren't very nice. And so there's that aspect to it, but really most of them hide in the shadows, and they manipulate us from the shadows. And that's so pathetically weak and cowardly. You know, so I just tell them straight to their face, confront them. So whenever you're sitting there and you're having this recurring thought pattern going on in your mind, pull it up right there and then, and just feel into that thought. And basically when you speak to them in your mind, you can say that verbally if you like, you can do it internally, then you are sending a signal back up into the matrix and back to the beings that are controlling the technology that's reimposing that thought, because it's run by artificial intelligence. That is imposing that thought back into your mind. It's a program, it's a loop, program loop, to keep getting that energetic charge off you, see? That's how it works. So confront it there, and when you do that, you'll see that you become aware of them more often. You do that more often, then they stop happening. They slowly start dissipating and weeding out. And then you start getting your mind back. And you stop having all these emotional charges. And you find more peace in your life. You know, you're more centered. centered, you're more balanced, and you're more peaceful.
Just let me name and ask the question.
Hi, George Ryan Nevada. Thank you for sharing today. I just wanted to know, before our incarnational experiences here on Earth, what kind of lives did we live individually, let's say in other dimensional planes or in other galaxies, or how did that work? And also, if you can share another question on what your perspective is of where we're going over the next, say, 12 months and what series of events
Oh
are
yeah, a
going
few people
on.
have asked me about what's happening soon and all that sort of thing. The ascension process and what have you. Okay, well the first question would take quite a long time to answer. Okay, many of us come from different levels, different paradigms, different realities. I know that's generalised, but I'll get into more detail with it. Some of us come from the Pleiades star system, some of us come from the Sirius star system, some come from the Orion system. There's good and bad in just about every system.
Did we have like
There's the Arcturian. People who come from Arcturus generally are more interested in finance, generally speaking, because they've got a fascination in the way that economic collectives control spirit. They're fascinated, well, not the high levels of spirit, but you know the way it controls a person's awareness, or you know, essence, it can control their incarnational essence. This way. Yeah. So they're really fascinated in those sorts of things. Different cultures specialise in different areas. Pleiadians are more into, they're like the Venusian energies, the Venusian archetype. Probably a little bit more into vanity, longevity, health, raw food diets. That's more the Pleiadian type of energy. A lot of indigenous tribes, very earthy people tend to be a lot of Pleiadians. There are some high-tech Pleiadians. So you've got different personalities, but you know, you've got lives out in these other places, but then you've got lives in other galaxies. So each galaxy we've all got our own galaxy in this universe. So you've got your galaxy happening, and I might have manifested myself as a star in your galaxy because I want to have that experience. Because your galaxy has its own vibration, its own personality, and my soul is attracted to your. That's what I need next in my soul for growth. So it's a law of attraction, right? And so your call that you put out through the universe that reverberates out, your expression as a galactic embodiment, has attracted my soul to it. So I want to go there and have an experience as a star. And then this gentleman here might be wanting to be the planet around my star. And then half a dozen people in this room have an incarnational construct happening on his planet, in the star, in that galaxy, because that's what you wanted. Do you know what I mean? So if you understand that, you'll understand the whole universe is full of life. The galaxies out there are all people. If you just change everything, if you don't look at it from a materialistic, mechanical point of view, and you just look at the universe from a people point of view, if you look at planets as people, you look at stars as people, and you look at galaxies as people, and you look at universes as people, everything changes. Your whole dynamic, the way you experience life will change. And everything just starts to fit. You know? And you understand that we are scattered throughout the cosmos. We have thousands of aspects of ourselves in many, many different realities that are incarnated, having all sorts of experiences in all sorts of levels and domains. But the life we're having here is chosen the fractal process. So you've got the universe, and you've got the galactic womb, which is a fractal of the universe, then the solar system, then the earth, and then the embodiment. And this aspect of us represents the embodied whole universe. So we're bringing all of our other expressions and all of our other creations back into balance through this life on this planet. So we have many lives and many realities and many domains. You may have a reptilian aspect. I'll talk about me because people freak out when I talk like this. I have a reptilian, I've been a draconian, I've been a Pleiadian. I actually currently have a Pleiadian aspect now. I have a Sirian aspect now. So I've got in those two areas.
Simultaneously?
Yeah, right now. I'm here on this planet. I've met myself as a tree, and I've met myself as a rat. It's come and gone that life, that expression. So if you think you're just here and this is all you have, that's very small and very limiting. There's lots of you everywhere. You are a multi-dimensional being. Don't think you are infinite in nature. So when you understand the construct of life, then you begin to realise, crikey, we have been dumbed down so much. We've been dumbed down to a point where we know so little about life. And here we are, we exist in all these other paradigms and all these other levels. And here's the key to all of that. Think of how much love it takes for all of us to be so interconnected, to have aspects of us inside one another on so many different levels, in so many different domains. I mean, that's phenomenal. The amount of processing it takes to create all of that. Because you can look at nature and you think, well, that's just chaos, right? But it's not. The whole thing's by design. Right to the point where a raindrop will fall, will hit a leaf, and the leaf will turn over and land on a bug, and then that bug is trapped under that leaf, which allows the ant to come and eat it, and the whole thing is by design. But the problem is, it is so the magnitude of design is so great that people can't comprehend it. So they've got to flog it off as though it's just chaotic. Because their egos can't cope with the magnitude of processing and power it takes to create life on such an intricate and powerful level.
And that's what we're about to become, a designer like that.
Yes.
So we're going to get that chance to be what the universal creator of this construct is.
Yes. After this processing, what we call ascension, takes place, which is, it doesn't happen right on 2012 and that's it. It's finished from there. We go back to the fifth dimension because we're going to get past the great void. Okay. This here is the great void. There's another one here, but this one's known as the great void because life is very different from here down to there up. From here up, no technology. See, the fifth dimension that I present compared to a lot of the New Age fifth dimensions is quite different. You know, a lot of people will say they'll get a group of Pleiadians or something that will come in their UFOs and in their spacecraft and claim to be from the fifth dimension. Well, they might be from the fifth dimension relative to their perspective of their domains, but in the greater perspective of the universe, they're not in the fifth dimension simply because they're utilising technology. So the moment there's technology involved in any way, shape or form, you know they're not fifth dimensional beings. Because up here, from here up, everything is pure organic consciousness. Everything is manifested from your intent. And you do it in total harmony with your surroundings. So any reality or domain that you wish to go into and you wish to incarnate or be a co-creator of or be a part of, all happens. You have full conscious connection with the Creator and all the beings that want to get involved, because you have to understand all the soul contracts and whatever, because that domain that you create is going to have a ripple effect on the universe. So you want to do it so it's in harmony with life. So you've got to have all that knowledge accessible to you. Like if you go even in these domains here, and you do it with technology, the people that do it from the true light, that live down here but function from the true light, will go to a planetary system and they will have a conscious connection with the consciousness of that planet. Let's say you just want to introduce one plant species to that planetary body. You've got to understand, you've first got to have permission from the planet itself, permission from the star system, permission from the galactic consciousness, because you're functioning within the embodiment of that being. Then you've got to know everything that reality is going to do, because let's say in a million years from the time you plant that seed, there are beings who are going to come and they're going to have a certain set of experiences. So that plant has to affect that reality in just the right way. So in a million years from now, that reality is going to be exactly what that reality needs to be, because those beings are going to be, in linear terms, in a million years from now, going to be incarnating and they're going to want that set of experiences. So you can't plant the same thing a million years beforehand that's going to change and alter that reality, because then that's all karma on your soul. So you've interfered. That's how it works. So you've got to be in harmony with nature. You've got to be connected to the consciousness of your reality. You've got to understand your surroundings. Understand this planet, who she is. If you know, people are going on, you know, they've got this spiritual superiority. You know, they're angels, ascended masters, God, all this sort of stuff. and they give absolutely no acknowledgement to the planet, to our Earth Mother, to what's going on here, who we are. You don't hear them talking about who we are, what we're doing here. You don't hear them talking about the greatest sacrifice of all. The greatest sacrifice of all, being the divine feminine. What she has gone through to manifest herself as this planet. Right? Her sacrifice is the greatest ever. But no one in the New Age community is out there acknowledging that.
Another question? Me?
Yes, hello George, I'm Megan.
Can you speak up a bit, please?
Yeah, I'm Megan. I would just like to ask what your take is on 2012. Are we going to step into our multidimensionality and all these artificial biological programs and that will become obsolete?
Yeah, they are. They're dissipating. Like I denounced my chakra body. Don't want anything to do with it. I actually felt it detach, go away. So I don't need it. I'm functioning from my authentic self, and I don't need that program, that layer of program. I don't need that. First of all, it's a fragmented state of being. The 7 energetic centers is a fragmented state of being. I don't want that. The changes that are coming, when you said multidimensionality, you're already accessing your multidimensional selves. This concept that we're here, then we've got to go to there, and then when I said that we're going to be going through the great void in the 5th dimension.
What do you say though about, for instance, Sitchin's ideas about how our DNA is interfered with and the pineal gland is an artificial...
Is that what Sitchin says?
Well, not about the pineal gland, but
Oh,
Sitchin
I was
talks
going to say
about our DNA having been interfered with.
Yeah, our DNA's been interfered with, but I still feel that the endocrine system is the most, the greater deception, because that is connected, the chakra system interacts with our physiological embodiment through the endocrine system. And so therefore, it's a hormonal reactive-based system. See? And so they want us to continually be reactive rather than responsible. When you're responsible, you're responding with responsibility to respond with ability. They don't want that. They want reactions. Therefore, you're instinctive.
Who is they? Who is they?
Oh, the Greys, the reptilians, and then all the way up through the Empire to God with a small g. Yeah, that's they. So they is easier to, rather than saying all that every time. Yeah.
Everybody go to the 5th dimension?
Not everybody, no, because it's not their journey to. We didn't all enter the universe at the same time. You see, we entered this universe, this construct called light, and we've experienced all these different dimensions, and as we come down, we fragment into many different realities. And then once we hit the bottom, and then it's kind of like, okay, now what? And when I say the bottom, I mean really dark, putrid, disgusting realities, really what you would call evil realities. Now, if you haven't been evil, if you've got like a self-righteous perspective on life, and I'm jabbing that sword in as I'm speaking, right? If you have a self-righteous perspective and you have not been evil, that you've only ever ventured into the positive light, love and light side of life, and you don't think you've experienced, or there's no aspects of you in the negative side of life, then that is egoic spirituality, egoism, egoic spirituality. That's your spiritual ego with a very, very, very self-righteous state of being, which means if you haven't experienced the negative side of life, you don't understand the negative side of life, you only judge the negative side of life. And if you think there's only the positive side to you, then what you're actually doing is you're living in denial of your negativity. Therefore, you now have an internal division within your being. Therefore, that God with a small g has got you around his little finger. Because a great man once said, he or she who has not sinned cast the first stone. Yep.
Just curious from a metaphysical point of view, what you were saying before about the chakra system and the endocrine system I find fascinating because I hate to think my metaphysics and kinesiology studies have been dictated by some grey construct. Now, you say you've disassociated from the chakra
Even
system.
disconnected.
Not sure if you still have your chakra system or whether it'll still be filmed on Korean photographs or whatever. How did you do it? How did you go about it? And you also say that you found that people that did meditation wasn't very good. Yet when you're looking inwards, isn't that a form of meditation in itself? Like a lot of those things, we need certain chakra systems to understand. How can you say that that's a program? Because that's a whole different way of thinking now. Can you explain?
It is, yeah. It is a whole different way of thinking. Excuse me. And the chakra body and the endocrine system is designed to assimilate you and attune you into a specific set of frequencies. So you are being attuned into the domains and the paradigms which are that frequency. So what you need to do is do your homework, I suppose, one way of putting it. Ask the right questions, like if you're dealing with angels or ascended masters, ask them. You know, and one big more thing to do is with force and intent, you say, I command you reveal your true identity. Do that. Anyone who's dealing with angels and ascended masters, command them to reveal their true identity. You might not like what you see. And if they morph into a beautiful bird or something, ask them again. And they morph into something else like a beautiful cat or something, ask them to morph again. And if they keep dodging their true identity, because that's what they're doing by doing that, the moment they do that, you've got them. You're not dealing with a true angel. You're dealing with an entity which has the facade of an angel.
How did you know you were disassociated from your chakra?
Okay, from the chakra body, because I commanded it and actually felt it. I felt myself disconnect from it.
You still got it, Brad?
No, I don't have it.
So
I don't
if you had
function.
the photograph, you would not have any of those.
Well, I've got 4 auric photos and none of them show any chakra body.
Really? That would be interesting.
Yeah.
But how did you manage that, given that you said earlier that we have no free will?
Okay, so that question is, this is the fine balance between understanding that you don't have free will and still living the experience of this life. It's like my decision to, okay, I'll define a decision. What we define as decision making, sorry to turn off that here. What we define as decision making is actually our ego coming to terms with the change occurring in our life. So we think in an egoic sense that we're making a decision, makes us feel better. But really that change is always going to occur in that moment in your journey.
I'm having trouble grasping. You seem to be contradicting yourself to me.
Yeah, I get that a lot. Yeah.
And on that note, a lot of the things that you're talking about as positive things sound very New Age to me. Very much concepts and belief systems that New Age people would subscribe to and do subscribe to. You contradicted yourself about reptilians. You initially discarded them as all pretty shonky negative beings, and then a little while ago you actually said, oh, there's some good and some bad.
Well, I've always said all along, if you look back through my seminars and my interviews,
Which I haven't done because I haven't read anything.
I've always said all along that we mustn't be racist and that there is good and bad in every race.
Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking when you were saying that earlier. I mean, I've had very positive, really, really positive, loving interactions with reptilians. I don't find myself threatened at all. And my assumption, I've heard lots of people who've had negative experiences, and my assumption has always been, well, they're probably like human beings, there's good and there's bad.
Well, I've talked about the blue dragon clans, that have, which is what the consciousness of the divine feminine has made agreements with, which has helped manifest her Lady Gaia personality, which is the crust and the natural environment. So the blue dragon clans are working with her to create this reality and help to maintain it over hundreds of millions of years, if not longer.
So I'm still trying to work out how, if you totally believe, I mean, you haven't, one imagines, had your pineal gland removed.
No, it's still there.
Yeah.
I just
So-
choose not to function through it.
Well, maybe you choose to believe that you aren't functioning through it, is what I'm saying to you. I just, I'm not trying to be difficult,
No.
I need to understand how you can say on the one hand that we're being totally controlled and manipulated, that everything's pre-programmed, and on the other hand to say, I've divested myself of that, or I'm in the process of divesting myself of that.
Yeah.
Because my logical brain, which is talking to me while you're talking to me, is saying, well, okay, if I accept what he's just said, then I have to accept that this goes on at least until I die, and possibly through incarnation after incarnation, or through every alternate lifestyle, whatever, or life cycle, whatever it is. I'm just, I don't think I'm a stupid person. I don't think I'm a person who's asleep or dead. I'm really having trouble understanding what you are trying to say to us and why.
Okay, what I'm trying to, the information I'm giving you is coming from a multi-dimensional perspective. So when I talk about the experiences down here and the decision making we do from down here, that's coming from the experiential ego. From up here is the higher self realm. Everything that happens down in the cosmic arena down here has been orchestrated from up here.
I agree.
So you and I
have no problem with any of
you
that.
and I
agree with
side by
that.
side here, and for example, you and I agreed that at this point in time in our lives we were going to have this discussion here today.
I don't disagree with that. I
So
accept
therefore, you and I, George and what's your name?
that. Maureen.
We didn't create this moment. We're experiencing this moment. We're living the moment.
I agree with that. 100%.
Yeah. So that's why we don't have free will.
No, you see,
But ego doesn't like the fact that it doesn't have free will.
no, well, see, I don't see that as not having free will because, I mean, there are things that you've said that totally resonate with me that I've thought, yeah, that's, I'm pretty sure that that's reality. And I don't have a problem with any of that stuff.
Yep.
Or the idea that we're living different lives in the multiverse. Ever since I was a child, I've been very acutely aware of that. But
Yeah.
I don't see that it's like, whether or not you believe in fate or destiny. And, some people will say, well, if my life is predetermined, then why should I bother doing anything? I could just go on and do whatever I want because it doesn't matter anyway.
And that's what was always going to happen.
But we are talking about our higher consciousness,
Yep.
our pure soul essence, and the decisions that it is making. And I certainly feel very strongly that as that higher consciousness, I did have free will to make that decision, to be sitting in this room today having this conversation with you.
Yeah, from up here, from down here, like this created this. So from down in this arena, this part of you feels like it's got free will. This part of you knows it doesn't because it's orchestrating, composing, it's conducting everything that goes on.
Well, it's kind of the other way around for me.
Well, that's how you want to see it.
Well, it is. It's very much the other way around for me. I believe that my higher self has free will and has, made
Oh, the higher
conscious,
self has free will, it's creating everything down
has
here.
made conscious choices to direct the choices that I'll make as a unidimensional being in this lifetime.
Yeah, this part is conducting what's going on down here. Yes, we agree on that.
Sorry, I completely thought you just said the opposite.
No, from the aspect of you down in here, this part of us that's down in the cosmic arena thinks we have free will, but we don't.
We do to a certain extent.
That's the ego still trying to hang on to
No.
threads of wanting
Basically,
to have free will.
the higher self is creating the environment. We are, what Shakespeare says, the players on the stage.
Yes.
I'm an actor. I've been an actor. There are many times when something has gone wrong and I've had to ad-lib. We're ad-libbing
Well,
on a stage
if I can
that is
explain
set.
If I can explain this way, when you connect with the higher self, the higher essence, you get flow happening. And it's just like a fountain that pours forth, and you move through this reality with just this flow. And you come to realise that you are not creating the life down here, you are living this aspect of me that is George, is the earthly personality of me. The incarnation. George is the incarnation. George is not the creator of this life. George thought he was. George, the ego, hung on for all he was worth, kicking and screaming. But the reality is, George did not create this life. And when I go through this life thinking I'm making decisions to go here and decisions to go there, your decision to come here tonight, you're always going to come here tonight. The fact that you feel like you made the decision just makes it better for the ego, because sometimes it needs a bit of nurturing. And that's, when I decide to do something, first thing I feel is the flow and the direction of my life. Which way is it flowing? My river of life. Where is it flowing? Where is it heading? And that's how I know that I don't have free will. I'm just living the experience of this incarnation.
Sorry, George, if you can get up to the 5th and 6th, you'd be able to see what's going on, and then you'd be able to change the mental construct pattern that you're dealing with as they experience, and then change it. So therefore you would be having free will if you can get up to the 5th and 6th.
Well, I've already got a reasonable connection happening with my higher self. That's why I know I don't have free will. And I'm just flowing in this life. It's just this flow. And even though I still get challenges.
Patterns, how do you change it? How do you change your set destiny, in other words?
I can't change it. I've surrendered, not to angels, not to ascended masters. I've surrendered my life, control of this life to me, the greater me, the part of me that's up here and beyond.
Suppose
So
you
flow
agree
is
to something
something-
that you no longer want to keep flying or something.
Yes, I have experiences here that George did not want to have. I'd rather not have them. But I know for the greater purpose of my being, I need to have them. Like, you've got negative experiences happening in your life. You'd rather not have them occur. Right? But you're having them. You know
Well,
what I'm saying?
obviously I haven't got to the 5th and 6th that you have, but if I did,
Well,
you
yeah.
I'd try and change it.
Well, you have, otherwise you wouldn't be asking these questions. So you do have, connections with your higher self.
I've got threads, but I can't quite get to the front.
Well, I'm still in the process of substantiating a greater connection with my higher self. But I've gotten to the point where I have that understanding of flow, where I can just let go of this life and just, it's like, it turns into this fun and mystery. And there's challenges that are coming along that I've had some recently that were quite challenging and painful. But I embrace them because I know there's something in them that I need. And they're going to make me a better person. And I'm going to gain wisdom from those experiences. So it's how you approach your challenges that make all the difference. If you welcome them, and you actually appreciate if there's people involved and the negative experiences you're having with those people, straight away, if you now think of someone who's the most difficult person in your life, and you just sit there quietly and you just visualise them in front of you, or feel into them, and you just thank them from deep in your heart. Thank you for all the pain you've given me, all the misery, and really feel into what lessons you needed, the wisdom you've gained from those interactions. Then watch the whole dynamic of that relationship change. Because those experiences were happening so you can get to that point of level of understanding. Now that you've got them and you're consciously working with them, that negativity doesn't need to be there. So either that person will change and treat you differently, or they'll leave and be out of your life. You know, you control what's happening, but you control it from here, not down here. When, you know, when The Secret came out and people were doing all this laws and powers of manifestation, they're functioning from the lower ego, and that's dangerous. You're creating all sorts of karma for yourself. But when you do it from, when you surrender to the greater you, and you just allow that flow to come from there, you're just going with the flow. Everything in synchronicity starts to appear. You get the odd challenges that come along, but they're less. Often they're fewer and far between. And your experience you have with the challenges becomes so much greater. And you actually, sometimes it's like, okay, when's the next one coming along? You know, let's get into it. Because you know it's an energetic charge that your soul needs. So whether you want to have it or not, it's going to happen.
You also get this point where you can attach to this body page to those pages.
I never willingly astral travel because that's functioning from the lower ego. So every time I've astral travelled, I've done it because it's just happened. But I've never willed it as George. I've just found myself astral travelling and going to different places on the planet on a ground basis. This, that, and the other.
So all of these biological implants that you were talking about was keeping us here. You started to talk about that. Like you say.
Yeah, the implants are designed to control us, to control aspects of us here, and to affect our psyche, our physiologically, to affect us mentally, emotionally. You know, it's all about the manipulation of, they can only reach certain levels of us, of our beingness.
Yeah.
But when, like this implant, I've got an implant cut out of here. And then I sat there and I was in pain, and I said, well, that was silly, because they can just pick me up and put another one in. So I thought, there's got to be a better way. And then I dug deep within myself, and then I got to the point, well, hang on, I created this life, I'm in all these higher dimensions, these guys exist on those levels, I'm more powerful than them, that means I'm more powerful than these implants. So from that moment on, I just kept saying within myself, I'm more powerful than these implants, they have no power over me. And then over a period of time, the dull aching I used to get from this one just went away, and the effects that it had on me went away, and that's what's been happening. Sorry.
We have a question from this gentleman here.
Yes.
Your name?
Is Umberto?
Umberto?
Right. The subject of UFO is something so exciting and so captivating, which is the reason for which I am here today.
Yep.
Now, I have two questions for you. First, both are sort of shorty, so everybody else can mention more questions. One is, I would like you to tell exactly and in color, if possible, how was that first encounter that you had?
The one I can remember,
yes.
That was a negative one. Can I share a positive one with you? But if you want the
Well,
first one...
what I'd like to know is what a spaceship...
Oh yeah, it was the Grace.
Anything just in detail.
Yeah. I remember going to bed that night, Mum was in the kitchen, and I remember my heart just pounding out of my chest. I just felt scared for some reason, I don't know why. I just felt so much fear. And then I went to sleep that night, and then the Greys came in. I actually woke up as they were coming in, and they walked around either side of the bed because my wardrobe shimmered like that. So what they do is they change the reality. As they go into our reality, they take their reality with them like we do. When we go into the ocean, we create a submarine, and we take our reality with us, the atmospheric pressure, we need our reality with us. That's what they do, but they do it with technology way advanced of what we got. Because what they know too is because they're not from here, they need also to have the foundational vibration of their reality with them. So when I'm in their reality, my body shakes. And it's the body reacting to their vibration, which is a more fear-based reality. So I'm actually trembling with fear at times, and I wasn't even scared, but my body was still trembling. And so they were taking blood samples, glandular secretions is what they were
Excuse
interested
me,
in.
at that point, did they take you inside the space?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But what happens is the process of being taken into the spaceship, usually you'll blank out in that process. And then next thing you know, you're awake and you're in a room and they're standing around you. The bench was like a stainless steel bench. It was hard, it was cold. It wasn't very nice at all. And they were probing and they were sticking needles here a lot. And I still, to this day, besides glandular secretions and semen and that, I don't know what their interest with this part of the body is. So if somebody else knows what the meridians and what this part of the body is here, I would be really interested to have a discussion.
The center of the body for us, or in the
It's just in the groin area, either side here, like that.
imaging?
Even up until a year ago, I was still getting taken and having needle marks. You know, they're always interested in this area here for some reason.
Which sort of face is this?
Oh, that was a greys with the almond eyes, and they were about this tall.
What colour?
Grey.
There's any photo? Have you got
Now
any
the ones
photo?
from the moon are smaller again. They're about this tall. They have round heads. They have pupils like us, but their eye sockets are round. They're not elliptical.
No picture?
And no.
Pick your mind.
Yeah, skeptics say to me, why don't you take a bloody picture? You know, like, hello. They just don't get it at all. And they had lots of little teeth. They're like little monkey beings, but they had no fur. They had very skinny bodies and they had a dark olive green complexion. And they're the little worker guys on the moon. And there's, you know, the tall draconian lords. You know, there's a show called Atlantis, Stargate Atlantis, and they've got these beings called the Wraith. That is exactly like the Draconian Lord with the long flowing hair and the black overcoat. That's exactly what the Draconian Lord on the moon looks like. My man.
But our body better than people's.
My second question, since you just touched the moon again, precisely I'd like to have a little bit more explanation about your concept about the distance of the moon and the mass, and that, because the moon is a sixth of the mass of the Earth. It's at a distance of
Is that
400
what you know for yourself or what you've been told?
No, I'm telling you about the physics and the reality.
Yeah, but the numbers that you get that say that the moon is a sixth the mass of the Earth,
Yes,
where do those numbers come from?
that comes from science.
Yeah, and what's
Science being used these days
Yeah.
for calculations for
Yeah.
these spaceships and
Yeah,
something
sure,
like that.
I understand that.
Now, the moon and its mass.
But it's up to you whether you want to accept that those numbers are real.
Well,
That the
they are not
equipment,
real.
hang on. That the equipment they're using to measure these parameters about the moon are actually calibrated to give them those results, or is the actual truth? See, this is where my argument comes in. You've got to question everything.
Okay, yes. Let me explain you something. The moon is 400,000 kilometers away
Yep.
from Earth, right? 1.3 second light. As a mass, as I said before, 1/6 of the mass of the Earth. And there is 1/3 part that you haven't mentioned. The speed of translation around the Earth
Transit.
is that maintain the moon in its orbit. If you accelerate it, it will go away.
Yeah.
If you slow it down, it will fall into the planet.
Sure.
That's physics, astrophysics,
Yeah.
and if there is any imbalance there, it will happen what I just said. You know, it goes or it falls.
Yep.
So, what is
And those
the point?
calculations are based on the numbers that have been given to the scientific community.
No, they are measurements, man. Likewise, the
It's
Earth
like
is
we
at
have,
that distance
let me
from
explain
the
like this.
sun.
We have 12 strands of DNA, but our science can only see 2. Why?
Sorry, I didn't understand.
We have 12 strands of DNA. So why can science only see 2? And why do all the DNA,
Three.
why does all the DNA codes that interact with the outer strands, why are they called junk DNA?
And
You've got to understand that
the
the,
physics of it.
Yeah.
If the moon was too close and not at the speed around
Yeah.
enough to stay there.
I understand what you're saying, I do.
But then all the calculations
Yeah.
and the calculations of the mass of all the other planets are done through astrophysics, and it's not terribly complex, really. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
It's a matter of learning the formulas, and then you will find out that
Yeah.
it's very, very accurate.
Well,
and not being inaccurate.
there's also plenty of scientific evidence which shows that the moon is hollow, that when they put radars on the moon, that it echoed. In fact, the scientific reports say that it rang like a bell. And so there's plenty of scientific evidence that says otherwise as well. Now, my experience with the moon is my own personal experience with the moon. I've been to the moon, and I've walked inside the moon, and I know what the moon's about. So I'm telling you from first-hand experience. Whether you want to accept that I've been to the moon or not is entirely up to you, because it gets really weird, because I can tell you that I've interacted with ETs, right? And that's okay. But if I tell you I've been to the moon, now that's crazy. That's deluded, that's fantasy, I'm making it up. It's like someone coming along and coming and picking you up and taking you to Europe. But if you say that person took you to your local shopping centre, that's insane. Do you get my analogy here?
I mentioned about
The
the
traffic
mass.
going to, hang on, the traffic going to and from the moon, the ruling elite go there for holidays. Okay? There's 1 million people on Mars already. Now, whether you want to accept that or not is up to you. But there's already 1 million Earth people living inside of Mars.
That's a possibility, perhaps. And,
So it's up to you whether you want to accept that or not.
Again, the point I want
Yeah.
to make to you is that the mass and the distance and the speed
Yeah.
are related. If the moon is
Yeah.
hollow inside,
Yeah, it is.
still must contain the mass
Mhm.
equivalent.
It doesn't have to.
It
because-
has to.
No, it doesn't.
It's not a matter of size. It could be 10 times bigger because
You've got to
it's
think
inflated,
beyond the
but the
physical.
mass is the same.
No, because they have the technology to make it appear as though it's got more mass.
Okay.
You're talking about they can take that moon and they can move it interdimensionally if they want to.
Mhm. Fantastic. Okay.
Yeah. You got the calculations that our scientific community uses is based on a very simplistic. It's a very tightly controlled paradigm, and the technology that these beings have, like most of the UFOs that you see on the planet, are shadow government UFOs. They got fleets of them. There was a trial fleet which they had like a trial run with one of their fleets, which was in Guatemala.
Guatemala.
Yeah.
Guatemala.
Not Guatemala, Guadalajara.
Guadalajara.
Guadalajara,
Mexico.
In Mexico. 500 ships in the sky all at the same time. You know, the 500, there's footage of it. You can get the footage. 500 UFOs in the sky all at the same time. You know, this is shadow government fleets. You've got to understand the traffic. And they don't just go, they go beyond the infrared. Because they know we've all got infrared goggles now, we can watch them. So now they've learnt that, so now they've gone further into, you know, a slower light spectrum, you know. And they can go interdimensional too, into other frequencies. So you've got to understand the technology that they've got. That moon is held, it doesn't have the mass you think it does. And it's held in that orbit using very advanced technology. That's just what I want to share with you. You don't have to accept it. I certainly don't accept a lot of what science has to say because my own personal experiences are showing me something else than what science says. But I understand where you're coming from. I totally agree with what you say from within that paradigm. Yeah.
And George, you could talk a little bit more about the ascension in 2012, that would be great, and also your views on what will happen with Mother Earth in March 2013.
Yeah, we had this discussion today. I was talking to Jason and Sean today about that. I've said in recent interviews lately that my understanding of the process might not have been exactly 100%, and that maybe the processes won't be exactly how I said they were going to be. And I take responsibility for saying what I've said. And I've come out 12 months prior to it happening. And I like to think that people won't just focus on that. That one thing I say doesn't turn out, then it devalues the rest of it, because that's quite shallow. And I'm not perfect, and I'm still learning. And so what I understand is, and I'll say no in my heart, is the cycle ends on the 21st of March 2013. Right, that's when the cycle ends. That's done. That's still the same. The only bit that may not be the same, and I'm not saying it's a definite that it won't happen, it still could happen. I'm just now in this mode where the reality here has shifted so much that, Big Mama might not need to do what she threatened to do when I was communicating with her at that time. Yeah?
You're answering our question.
Yeah? And because things weren't looking too good back then, but the shift is happening so fast now that she may not need to act to the degree that she was going to.
Okay. I've just got one other question, if that's all right. Is there anything we can do to prepare ourselves, to assist ourselves through
The greatest thing to do is to continue to be your authentic self. And I know that's a generalised answer, but I will give you more detail on that. Is to continue to live your experiences consciously. Like, become aware of where you are in life right now. Become aware of where you're working, the people you're interacting with. Start assessing all these relationships, everything in your life right now, and start saying, why am I interacting with this person? Why am I having an argument with that person? Why is that person, treating me the way they're treating me? And when you need to set your boundaries. Maybe you need to be a bit of tough love, be a bit, like, you don't need to be treating me like that, or you have your own ways of dealing with whatever situation it is. But defending your sovereignty, not in an egoic way, but defending your sovereignty from an authentic place, I think it's now gotten to the point where we need to do that and set our boundaries more with people, and just be more authentic. And when you consciously live your experiences from art, you live them differently. It's like you experience them differently. It's like you start getting into the depths of the energetic patterns around that experience, and you understand why that person is behaving the way they are to you. And then the knowledge and know-how of how to deal with it all of a sudden comes to the fore. And when you implement that, everything changes. And you start having more power about yourself. And you start moving through this matrix in a really powerful way. And you look back over some experiences, you go, I learned wisdom from that, I don't need it. And so that, and when you do that, you do it from a place of wisdom, from a place of the greater being. Because you can just say straight away, your ego go, I don't want any more negativity, I'm done. No, that's not your journey. You'll find that you might have more, because that's just your ego chucking the tantrum. So when you do these processes I'm talking about, you really got to go deep within yourself, and you've got to be sensible about it. You've got to be realistic about it, because you know your journey. I know my journey, and I know what I need to do with the people that are in my journey. And you start taking command. But it's like fighting without fighting. That's fight without having to fight. If that makes sense. Yeah? So I'm taking command without being in control. Yeah?
Sorry.
Yep.
A question from the back.
Yep.
Hi George, my name is Mike. I'm interested in universal consciousness. Kind of new to this, don't really understand it.
Yep.
I've heard it mentioned by people like Stephen Greer on YouTube talking about connecting with ETs.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if you can explain with the levels, how do we find these levels that are on the
Okay, you are these levels. You already are them. What's really funny is a lot of people think we're down here and we have to get back up there. It's like a destination people want to go to, but that's not how it is. you already are this whole thing. So what we're doing is reconnecting with these aspects of us that's already there.
Okay, so is there one of those that are current or now or on this level, on this plane?
This aspect of you is here, and what we're in the process of doing is reconnecting with, are you talking about like in all these aspects in the other galaxies and all that?
Not really sure what I'm
Oh,
asking.
okay. Well, just keep it simple to begin. It's really important to keep things as simple as you can. I know I've talked about a lot of different areas in such a short space of time, but if you just, the simplicity of being authentic, just being you and honouring you, wherever it takes you, if you need to go and be, now, the positive white loving lighters are not going to like this statement, but if you need to go and be a drunk on a park bench, or you need to go and join a dark cult society and deal with demons, and that's your path, that's good for you. It's not good for me. Do you know what I'm saying? But if that's the experience you need for your soul, because it's about balance, right? So if you still got some negative charges you require, then you've got to have those experiences to rebalance yourself. Some people need positive experiences to rebalance themselves because they've been too negative in their universal journey. So now they're doing more of the positive stuff, meditating, eating raw foods, you know, as much as they can, because, yeah, but the vegetarian thing's an interesting thing because plants have feelings too, but you know, let's not go there. Yeah. So it's keep it simple and don't judge yourself. Honour yourself. And know that whatever you need between now and the more major changes, rather than the ones we've already had, that's good for you. No judgment here. Just, it's really simple. I just can't reiterate the simplicity of it because all these other healing modalities, religious structures, or cults and all that, they're all programs. If you Australian Aborigines call walkabout, because you go into the desert, and the reason they go into the desert and not into the bush is because the bush is a city. It's an organic city, right? It's a natural city. It's lots of trees, so you've got lots of people. Lots of birds, you've got lots more people. So it's this hive of activity. It's a very busy place. You don't get peace and quiet there, really. So people go into the desert where there's still life there, but there's very little life there. And so energetically, there's a lot of clarity. And you're confronted with yourself, you see. No mobile phones, no computers, no nothing. It's just you. And then when you sit there and you're just confronted with yourself, that's why people love fishing. And they take the boat and they go out into the water and they just sit. There's just maybe the water lapping up on the boat, but it's very meditative just to sit out there. Because you haven't got much going on. And there's just water, nothing else, you know? So that's a good place to go and do it too. And they have issues being confronted with themselves, because that's what they're left with, is nothing but themselves. So people struggle with that. And that's what the Vision Quest Look About thing is really what it's about. Yeah.
Do we go and touch on the 24, what you thought was going to happen over the next?
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I didn't quite answer the question. When you look at the natural environment, it's very beautiful, but when you go deeper, it's death and destruction. Everything is killing everything in order to survive. So it's a consumeristic construct. And that reflects, that's the environment we required, so we could be consumers ourselves. So the natural environment has been facilitating what we wanted to become, and that's barbaric and consumeristic. So now, as the vibration is changing, there's a need for the natural environment to change. It can't stay as it is. Because a lot of people think ascensions, we all turn into love and light and we all love one another and we go into high technology and that's it. But you can't continue to have the vibrational pattern of the natural environment we have because it's not a frequency match for the high frequencies of love and light and working in harmony with nature. It doesn't match, so that has to change. And so how that's going to change is, I presented one way that it may take. I'm not sure if it's going to happen that way. It was the most extreme case. It may still happen that way, but you know things are changing pretty fast, so it may not. And also, when you look at it from the point of view of birthing from an eggshell, you know, the crust sustains. It's the eggshell really. And what's inside our Earth is a female version of the sun. That's what's in the core of our planet. And that needs to expand eventually. So when that happens and how it happens, because people think just on the 3D level, they think, oh, we're all going to die, and no, it's not like that. Because as we change frequency, we go into higher frequencies, so we won't be on the level that takes place. Yeah, what I've been explaining is from the 3D level, from down the 3D level, you know, down these levels, and even some of the fourth dimensional levels, people will view that mechanical process and think that the world has died or the world has come to an end. But if you raise your frequency and you move with Mother Earth and you metamorphosize with our Earth Mother, then you won't experience that stuff at all. Because you'll be in a high dimensional plane. Yeah? Because there's also the theory that Earth is going to split into two realities. I still don't agree with that. I don't feel it. It could happen. I could be wrong, right? I've got no problems with that. But I don't feel it from the point of view is that I'm ascending, so I don't want to leave an aspect of me behind, George, because I'm ascending, right? So I don't want to leave an earthly aspect of me behind. So I don't see Mother Earth, if she's going to ascend, that she's going to leave the part of it behind. I just don't see. I don't want to split in my path. And I know our journey is symbiotic, so I don't see her wanting to split either. I like to see that, you know, I feel that she's done with all this sort of stuff. But I could be wrong. Yes?
Question?
Yes.
I work a lot with crystals.
Yeah.
I often feel Mother Earth, what is your perspective of these things in mind? One can also see benefits that they can bring to the individual for their self.
When you said my perspective on these things being mine?
Yeah.
Oh no, the crystals are living beings.
Yeah.
I've had an interaction with the collective, like the High Council of the Crystal Kingdom. Right. And because everything's a reality, everything's consciousness. So you have your mineral kingdoms, you have hierarchies, you have civilizations within them. You know, we look at a rock and you just think it's just a dumb rock, but it's not like that. They're living beings. And they just, you know, and they're aspects of us. I mean, you know, it's consciousness experiencing itself in that format. Yeah, it's living. So, yeah, crystals are living beings.
But in terms of, you know, people often ask me, you know, how they mind people who are doing this.
I'll tell you what, the crystalline community is having problems with. They're freaking, there's a part of them that's freaking out with ascension. Yeah, I know this might be out there for people, but we're talking about a crystal, right? Think of it as a community. Anyway, what they're freaking out about is they're in mathematical construct. And what we're moving into eventually is beyond mathematical construct. So they are absolutely freaking out because they've got to let go of their rigidity. Yeah? And it's not a joke, it's they're having problems with it. Yeah. Talk to them about it. See what you think of that. Yeah. See how they feel about that.
But that ties in with what you said before about ascension.
Yeah.
The Mother Earth, I think it's a mistake. I don't think it's wiping off into some, you know, this experience, this physical experience, to do that is part of the specialty of life.
Yeah.
Why should it be seen that we're going to send level to it? Do you know what I mean? So in terms of the mathematical way of explaining everything, it's here to stay.
Well, mathematics is a language. So, with my intention, with my intention, I would manifest this, right? For example. Okay. Now, I didn't use maths to manifest it. I just manifested it. Now, someone will come along with a mathematical, analytical mind, and they'll measure that distance. They'll measure that. They'll look at the construct, and they have all these templates and all that. But that's their language. And they're applying that language, that labelling system, onto life that's already there.
But isn't that part of the universe?
The people that are mathematically inclined want their way their perspective of life to be it. So they think that everything is mathematical, maths is the answer to everything.
Oh, but I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not, it's actually a labelling system. It's a language. Right? Because that distance can be whatever. It could be inches, it could be millimetres. See? It's all different variables. It's arbitrary, right?
The little question about crystals as well, very much in the meeting. And then, since you've been talking, it feels that it's one of the programs. A lot of people put your crystals out in the moon, energise them, energetically, yeah, I would agree with that. But is that a program or is that an actual physical reality?
Can you ask that question again?
Okay, if you put your crystals out,
Yeah, you put the crystals
in the
out.
full moon,
In the full moon, yeah.
and I've been working with these things for 5 years, and I was sceptical about this, and I tried it. Yes, they felt different.
Yes.
They felt energized.
Yes.
Now, if your view of the moon, what you said, now obviously it's...
Well, I put them out in the full sun,
Yeah.
and they become really energised.
Yeah, that's too much for them.
Well, not for these ones, because they asked me to do it. Yeah. Whereas your friends wanted the moonlight for whatever their journey is.
Right. So
Yeah.
there is a physical change. Is that what you...
Absolutely.
Right. It's not programmable.
It's not just in your mind. No, those beings, the crystals themselves go through a physical change. Yeah, absolutely.
I've seen crystals at the party. People wear them and then clarify them to the point. Totally translucent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
How do you know that, when you say, oh, you might need to go through some sort of dark cult, how do you know that it could be the devil or another entity sort of instructing you to do that? I mean, how do you really know yourself? Like, I can get into certain states and feel really euphoric, and then later, the ego self saying, oh, that was a bunch of bull, or whatever like that. You know, how do you know when you're really yourself? You know, and to carry on from that, you must really have known yourself about that time when they was taking the life force out. You say you love them. I mean, you've got your life force back too. I mean, how did that work? I mean, when they take the life force, what's the big deal about that? You get it replenished anyway. So, is that the best way of dealing with it? Just to know thyself and just to say I love you, and that's how it is. And if so, how do you find yourself?
You just asked the 10 questions. Yeah, each one of them is quite big.
They're quite simple, but probably very big.
All right. When it comes to God and the devil, when I made that statement earlier, the image of the devil has been created by the God of religions because it's a reflection of its own self. So, when you contemplate that, you come to realise that the whole paradigm of the devil and the good God is an arena that's been created by this entity, and it's sucking a lot of people into that drama vortex around that. And so a lot of people are viewing life from within that paradigm, that program. See, when you read the Bible, it's actually a mind virus. Okay? And while there's a lot of truth, that's not a lot, threads of truth that have come down, and they're still in the Bible, like know thyself, like know ye not of gods, like, you know, certain statements, threads of truth that have made it through the Bible, it's still overall, it's designed to program you, and it creates a mind virus. And the whole thing about the pineal gland is it's in the mind. So whether you do the New Age thing, whether you do the Eastern philosophy thing, like, because there's the original Eastern philosophies, which aren't anything to do with pineal gland or chakra body. You know, the simplistic nature of Buddha, the jovial Buddha, just be you, and just don't worry, be happy, in a sense. You know, it's the simplistic nature of the original teachings, and then you've got all these programs that are being overlaid. So the devil and the God business is him adorning himself with splendour and beauty, because that's marketing campaign that this entity needs. I mean, he resides here. He resides here. When you connect with your higher self and you experience these higher levels of yourself, you know where this entity lives. His frequencies in the upper reaches of the fourth dimension, he's constantly trying to crack that. We're talking about a fractal of the universe. That's what a lot of the abductions are being about too. It's not only reading programs, but cracking that within people. Because that's what they want to do. And And they want to access that higher energy. They can't. They can't crack that. Nothing will ever crack that void, the great void. The only way through is the kingdom of heaven is within. Sorry to use religious terms, but again, threads of truth. The kingdom of heaven is within. The New Jerusalem is this, in here. This is Solomon's temple. It's not bricks and mortar in the Middle East. This is Solomon's temple. You know, that's the reality of it. And you get to see the game of religion for what it is. And you get to see that the more sophisticated version of religion called the New Age movement, and that's all it is, a more sophisticated version of religion. And it's all designed for people to be disempowered. Now, it's very sophisticated, very clever, but at the end of it all, there was a gentleman in Perth who was doing the Saint Germain thing. And he had a large group of people that would constantly come to the meditation groups, and they'd bring in the violet flame, and they would anchor it on a cellular level. I mean, that's like taking heroin, energetically speaking. Because energy is a substance, but it's an energetic substance. So when you consume these energetic patterns, you're consuming a substance. So that's why I warn people, you don't have to bring any light in. You've already got the whole universe within you. Bring that light that you need out. If you want to do a healing, and you need a light spectrum, go within yourself and see it coming out of your heart and use that to heal. So it's a worthiness issue. A lot of people don't think their light's good enough. I won't go there. Yeah.
Another question?
Yeah.
Megan?
Oh, yes. Could you share your most beautiful experiences, your good ones?
One of my good ones, the Lady of the Sea, which is an aspect of the Earth Mother, which is an aspect of the sky feminine, came to me and took me by the hand and took my ethereal body out. And, I obviously volunteered, and took me into the ocean. And I remember standing on the beach with her, and the water rising up to probably about the height from the floor to that. And the water opened up, all the way from about here to that pillar. And then she said, come with me. And she took me by the hand and kind of floated into the water. It was really symbolic because it's the womb of the mother. And we went into the bottom of the Pacific Ocean and we had a meeting with the High Council of the Water Dwellers. So our oceans are actually full of life. But we can't see them because they live in other frequencies. See, and we just constantly think of land-based stuff because we live on the land. So we don't give the ocean much thought. And I remember in that meeting that all the beings were saying that all the preparations they've made for the changes that are coming with the Earth are all in place, and all the energetic streams that they're responsible for that are pouring into this reality, because this is the microcosm of the macrocosm. So all life in the universe is represented here. So everything that they're responsible for, all the interface and all interchange of energies are all in place, and everything's up to date, and everybody's very excited about the coming changes. And there was just so much love in that moment. It was an incredible experience. And then I had to get up and scrub the toilet the next morning and then, what am I going to do with that, Crazy. And then you reconcile those sorts of experiences, and then you get back in the matrix and you've got to deal with everyday life. It's just crazy.
What would you say, based from your own experience, is the agenda of those beings that do those really torturous things to what were they trying to do? What was their
The agenda is not only an act of revenge on one level, but it's also, they knew I was always going to get up and say stuff down the track. I got an understanding of who I am and the roles that I've played here before and roles that I've played in the galactic arena and in the cosmic arena, those aspects of my being. And so they know who we are, and what they do is they specifically design programs of control, and they, and specifically design implants, because it's all based on frequency. And they try to alter your energetic field, your magnetic chamber. They'll work with your nervous system, your mental body, your emotional body. everything. They have thrown everything at me. Everything. And they can't stop me. Because I'm actually a part of the outcome of this reality. So are you. It's like everybody in this room is still here because you're supposed to be. So that's why I get up and say the things I say, because no one can interfere with my journey. It's just the way it is. It's not, you know, it's how it is. I'm a part of the outcome of this reality. It's a matter of what anyone thinks. There's been attempts on my life, throughout my life, but they can't stop me. My light comes out and stops them. It just happens automatically. And there's a lot of people who work behind the scenes who have had the same experiences. It's not just George the Great. It's just a common theme for people who are here to do a specific task. And the people who get assassinated along the way, that was the journey they designed prior to incarnation. It was always going to happen that way.
Well, I woke up at about 4 o'clock in the morning with an equation in my head, and it was the law of attraction equals gravity. And I was listening to an interview with you, and who mentioned it, and you're the only source I've ever come across who's mentioned it. I was just wondering if you could expand on that.
Yeah, scientists scratch their heads, they're trying to work out what gravity is. It simply is just the law of attraction. So it's consciousness manifesting itself in that form, which then sends out broadcasts of vibration, which then attracts, like we want a set of experiences, so we're pumping out an advertising board, so to speak, symbolically speaking. We're resonating a frequency which attracts experiences. It's the same thing if you have just a rock and then another rock comes along, it attaches itself in the vacuum of space. But that was always going to happen because those two rocks wanted to come together in that moment. It's a law of attraction. You know, whereas another rock might have been drifting along, but then gets knocked out and won't connect with that because it got bumped out of the way by whatever. So it's just the way it works. It's the law of attraction. Everything that occurs is by design, it's by intent, and it's by the law of attraction. And the law of attraction being L-O-R-E, law of attraction, not L-A-W. L-A-W is an authoritarian synthetic construct overlaid over the natural order of things.
So what you're saying is that as a law that's manifest, the law of attraction is manifesting physically as gravity.
The law of attraction is yes, that's what we call gravity.
But at every level,
so your soul gravitated to this planet to have this incarnational experience.
Yeah. So therefore, the law of attraction, for example, is at every level, but would manifest in a different way.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's different types of gravity. There's different versions of gravity. There's different intensities of gravity, and it's hard to verbalise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Closing statement.
Just.
Is that all right?
Can I have one? Sorry. Just the last question. Can I have?
Yeah.
George.
Yes.
Just the last question.
Yes.
About what is your personal opinion about the role of this Galactic Confederation and now the Andromeda Council, and so many stuff has been, information was being in the internet everywhere.
Look, there's our communities out there, our galactic communities, that know who and what we are. They know who and what we are. They know what we're doing here. You have these other galactic communities that come here that say that we are a young race, and I agree we're a young race, but only physically, because what occupies these bodies are the oldest and the wisest beings of the universe. So physically we're just about the youngest race in the universe, but energetically and spiritually speaking, we are the oldest and the wisest race in the universe. We are the way showers and we are the leaders of our peoples, all incarnate on Earth. And these other ET groups that come here and propagate this notion that we need mentoring, that we fight and squabble and fight amongst ourselves, that we are immature, that we are barbaric. They are the ones that are caught up in the paradigm of that entity with the small g thing going on, the God with a small g, and associated paradigms. It may not just be within the direct context of that paradigm, but associated paradigms, and they don't know who we are. Why aren't they telling us who we are? Why aren't they saying that when I've interacted with many ET groups and many other people have interacted with ETs that know exactly who and what we are? But these other groups, their only interest is welcoming us into their galactic community. They're like good little children. Let us help you. We'll give you technologies. We'll sort you out and we'll welcome you into our galactic community. That's what they're saying. And it's kind of like this. If you have an island nation or just a country that lives under a strict dictatorship on this planet, and the United Nations comes along and that dictatorship has been removed, and then you've got representatives of those people going to the United Nations, and they now think they are free. And they're proud, and they stand there, and they're representing their country and the United Nations, and they're welcomed into the global community. As above, so below. Because I genuinely ask you, do you think the United Nations is about freedom? Of course not. It's all about central banking systems and control. So you just take that and you apply that cosmically, as above, so below, and there's your answer. As above, so below is one of the most powerful things you can ever contemplate. It explains so much. And when I talk about as above, so below, I mean in the cosmic arena, so from here down, not from here up. So there's systems of control, very sophisticated, eons and epochs and eras of evolution in the universe. And all I'd say to people is, don't be so naive, because they're going to sell love and light for all it's worth. It's all about love, it's all about light, and they're using love against us. That's the reality of it. And we've got the rest of our communities that know who and what we are, and they're just staying right back at the moment. So be careful what you choose to get involved in. That's all I've got to say.
Thanks, George. Thank you.
Thanks, George. Big hand for George. That really was a very powerful presentation. I don't know if you felt it as well. I mean, George, your paradigm, I think we all need to hear that, I think. It's very, very necessary in this current time. And we are in a system of controls all the way up and beyond. Things we can't see, people we can't, things we can't see. So I think it's very important that we are aware of who we truly are. I've always felt that. And that we do allow our light to shine, because when we live in that state of grace, then in fact nothing bad can happen to us. I mean, I have experienced that, so I completely understand. So thank you.
I really appreciate the invitation.
Yes. Thank you so much for being available to come and talk to us. That was an absolute miracle. I wasn't expecting it.
Well, it's just flowed,
It's
isn't it?
flowed, yeah.
It just flowed. I came here to see my mum, and
Yes.
I'm in the neck of the woods, so
It
why
was
not?
lovely. I've had some really lovely communications with your wife via email. Thank you for that.
Well, I can't be who I am without her, and you know, it's the divine feminine that holds the space, and I certainly, you know, without having that feminine energy in my life, it just wouldn't happen the way it does. So I'm very, very grateful.
Yeah, no, nice for her to do The restaurant, we are going to go to those who put their names down. I'm president of UFO Research, and we're running a meeting on the 3rd of this Saturday, the 3rd of March. So we have meetings every first Saturday of the month. And if you go to our website, www.ufo.asn.au,